Hi, everybody. Welcome to FNS Wrestling Podcast, episode 25. I am your host, and with me, as always, is my teenage son, Jackson. Say hello, Jack.
Wait, I thought it was episode 24.
It is not.
I must have forgotten to make a copy of the document.
Oh, you didn't change it? Funny you mentioned that. Episode 24 is our most, well, from the stats I get, I was just looking up podcast stats, and apparently they're not very indicative of much. They're somewhat deceptive.
I didn't make a copy.
But 24 was our most listened to after 1 week podcast we've done so far. So thanks to everybody that's listened to it.
Yes, thank you, everybody. I hate when because every time I just make a copy of my notes and then delete them. I hate when I forget to make a copy, and then I'm not going to bother recovering my notes. I don't think it's necessary.
Such a challenging life, when you don't make a copy of your notes. But yeah, 25 episodes in, I did a little looking up because I was just curious what, like the average podcast, how many episodes do they do, right? Because they always say a lot of podcasts start, but then a lot of them just quit or give up or whatever. So the stuff I looked at just quickly before we started said the average podcast lasts 14 episodes. So we've crushed that already. Going strong at 25 now. I heard Mom talking to your grandfather, and she was saying, oh, they've been doing it since April. And I was like, no, we've been doing it since July, right? So quite a while now. Still having a good time. I enjoy it. We
started the week before my birthday or something. Because
that's right. You were 12.
The host banter. It says talk briefly about non-wrestling stuff, probably birthday talk this week, maybe hint at figures you got, but save for figuring it out with Jack, because I just don't change anything.
You're looking at our notes?
Yeah, the...
Yeah,
right?
Because we have them all.
I just know it was, around my birthday.
So when we're mega famous and people love us, we can send them copies of our notes from our, early shows, right?
Yeah, for $5.
No. So 25 episodes is awesome, still going strong. For me, being a huge sports fan, you not really at all. Big weekend of playoff football. One of my favorite weekends in sports are the first couple weekends of NFL playoffs, especially since this year. What's the big news, Jack? Do you know?
No.
The Cleveland Browns, my team since I was a 10-year-old young man, just starting to understand football, have actually made the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. And then their really strong head coach obviously gets COVID, so that's very Cleveland Browns. We make the playoffs, but we won't have our coach. But anyways, we'll see how that goes. So I'm recording the Buffalo game right now because that's the other team I'm rooting for, because they're basically a local team for us, as close as it's going to get here in Southern Ontario. So I have plans on watching that game after we're done recording here. So I'm hoping to not get any spoilers. I don't think I will. I never do. So, and in other sports talk, because I know you love that, the Raptors beat the Kings last night, set a franchise record for points in a non-overtime game. And I'm hoping that this is the start of a turnaround of the pretty brutal beginning of the season for my Raptors, right? So, and I know this is all stuff that, are you still awake over there? Falling asleep?
Yeah.
And also online schooling, we found out, has been extended, right? For elementary students. So instead of going back to the actual building, starting on Monday, Jack will be at home with his brother for at least the end of January.
Because my brother, gross.
We're still seeing really high numbers of cases here in Ontario daily, which is not great, obviously. So we'll see how things go there. But online, yeah, it's an interesting week of all of us at home doing online schooling. But you guys did a great job, so congratulations to that. Thanks. And you and your brother doing a good job. Do you have anything else you want to talk about here in the banter section?
I had to clean the litter box today, and it smelled really bad.
That is not really news to anyone. I guess this isn't the news section, so technically, I guess, yeah, that is true. Your cat is stinky.
And you said you could smell it from here, which I find kind of funny.
Well, because my little studio cave is right near the litter box, is just down the hall.
Our cat is a skunk.
Yeah, she's a special girl. Anyways, I guess we should get into talking some wrestling. What do you think?
We should probably do that.
All right, so let's do that. So our first segment, as always, on this show is our news and rumors.
Yes, cue the news thingy.
Yes, it will be in post-production. They'll hear it. We don't hear it. Okay, so as I always start out with the ratings every week, this is week 64 of the Wednesday Night Wars, and it saw AEW...
Wednesday Night Wars?
Whatever it is. You know what day it was. And AEW was again victorious, but not by much. The numbers looked pretty low to me. Wednesday's New Year's Smash Night 1 edition of Dynamite drew 662,000 viewers, which is down 32% from last week. Obviously, they had a huge week last week with the Brody Lee episode. And so they got a 0.25 rating in the key demographic, which is down 37.5%. So they're down quite a bit, but they still came out ahead because Wednesday's New Year's Evil edition of NXT drew 641,000 viewers. That's up 9.4% for them. And they did a 0.16 in the demographic, which is up 33.3%. So Dynamite won by 21,000 viewer average, but they were down. NXT was well up. So AEW barely won, but they were down significantly while NXT sort of closed the gap.
NXT seems to only cut it close when it's these.
When they have a major
specials.
show they've clearly planned for and promote it. Yeah, it's like when it's clear they have a plan.
AEW pulls
every week.
It feels like that every week.
So their average, I was looking sort of briefly at that as well. I think it was AEW Dynamite for 2020. The basic average was at like 800,000 viewers, which is nice to know, right? Because it gives me a ballpark of was this a strong episode in terms of viewership or not. So 662 is not great, but still ahead of NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed. I won't speak for you, but I thought both shows this week were good. So I'm looking forward to getting into those reviews when we get there.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you have? Anything in the news you want to talk about?
NXT's TV deal with USA Network is set to expire this fall, as reported by WrestleNomics' Brandon Thurston. But he says that USA are probably likely to renew.
My only hope is that whatever they renew or whatever they do, and I don't understand how these things work, figure out your stuff for Canada so that we can watch the show in the full version. Maybe even, God forbid, on the night it airs would be cool.
They'll probably watch AEW.
But we still would, but it would just be easier for me, as I've said a million times.
Right, or like the ability to record it so that we could just watch on.
I pay for this network every month, and I still have to find other methods to watch NXT every week. That is not how it should be. Mm-hmm. I shouldn't be paying for their service and then having to use another service to watch one of their programs.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, I digress. So I had something just that Daniel Bryan is reportedly pushing for more NXT call-ups, and that's sort of included in that. Damian Priest was supposed to go earlier.
Yeah, I have that as well.
Was supposed to be up already, but
last week.
Yes, but now plans seem to have him going to Raw instead.
Yeah. Apparently Owens and Reigns stopped that because Priest was supposed to debut as like Owens' best friend or something.
Right.
They both agreed that like it didn't make sense.
It doesn't.
I agree.
It doesn't. And it looks like I was, somewhat right about the result of the Cross Priest match, and say, because we were like, why would they put those two together, right? And I said, well, I assume Cross will win and Priest is probably gone because it seems like about that time for him.
I fear for that man.
The same article was saying that Ripley will probably be on the main roster soon. I don't think that's really news to anybody. It's kind of been looking that way for a long time. I fear for her
as well.
So there's no doubt the main roster needs freshening up, but I have zero faith in any call-ups being used correctly, right?
Yeah.
And selfishly, I think you would agree, for our enjoyment and the sake of the podcast, I don't want anyone that I like to leave NXT.
I'm honestly happy that guys like Gargano, Undisputed Era, and Ciampa have been here for like years now.
If Vince is convinced that they're lifetime NXTers, well, I don't think that's an insult. I think that's great. It's great news for us.
Better for them, better for us.
Absolutely. You have anything else, sir?
Yep. Brought a couple other things related to NXT, both involving the Dusty Classic. So I got a full roster for the Dusty Classic.
Oh, great. I don't think I've seen this. Let's go.
So August Gray and Kurt Stallion, which we did see on NXT, like we knew this
August Gray and Kurt Stallion. Okay.
That could be all right. I like Kurt Stallion. Don't really care about August Gray. Bollywood Boys, 205 Live fodder right there.
Yep.
Breezango, who we know was facing Undisputed Era.
Right.
Because that was revealed on NXT, and also Everrise versus the Grizzly Young Veterans, so they're also in it.
Everrise.
Maverick and Killian Dane, obviously. Imperium, no-brainer. Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott.
Yeah, they always cobble together a couple teams,
yeah,
right?
but this one just feels worse.
It's like, the reluctant...
I was literally saying the one week that they did these good makeshift teams, and we got two that suck hard.
I don't know. Like, give them a chance, right? Like, it's this whole... reluctant tag team partners. The WWE loves it right now.
It's just so predictable.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm just happy again, as always, they're focusing on tag team wrestling when they normally don't. That's not exactly a star-studded roster, but maybe you can make some stars, right?
Yeah,
along the way would be the hope.
Kushida and Leon Ruff. That's brutal.
Yeah, I don't
Gross.
know. I'm not
like, Liam Ruff's fine, but Kushida's not the partner to give him that will make him look good.
But at the same time, we're complaining about everything Kushida, so why not try somewhere different, right? Like, I'm going to be the optimist and say, we're not happy with what he's been doing for months.
We got Legado del Fantasma, which is going to be Wilder Mendoza, of course.
Right.
Which is fine. Undisputed Era, we already know. Colin Strong, and then obviously The Way, which is Gargano and Theory.
So how many teams is that?
Let's see.
Is that the normal number? I feel like that was a lot. Could be wrong.
6, 7, 8.
Making you count on the weekend. What a horrible father.
11, 12.
Okay.
That can't be right.
Is that as many as they normally have? Yeah. What bracket's going to work with 12 teams?
I don't know.
'Cause you're a bracketologist, so...
Maybe I counted. I don't think I counted wrong though, but whatever.
Online learning has failed my son. He can't count by ones anymore.
How come?
Just kidding.
Just the way it's formatted, it's hard to.
I just saw another little news item. I guess that apparently Sonya Deville is returning and will return as a semi-authority figure with Adam Pearce.
Assistant.
Right. So
that's gonna be brutal.
Again, I'll try and be the optimist. She was just starting to develop sort of as a character and getting a lot better, I thought, on the mic and in promos and things. So
yeah, but
it'll give her a chance to focus on that.
It's main roster.
It is.
Yeah. So my other Dusty Classic one, and I was really perplexed by this, and I'm not thrilled. Some of the first round Dusty Classic matches
You're super negative so far.
will take place on 205 Live.
Sorry, some of what? I cut you off.
The Dusty Classic matches.
Why are they doing that?
Right? Like,
well, I guess it's smart
because
it's kind of smart by them because guess who's going to go watch 205 Live now to check it out? Me.
Now I have to watch 205 Live.
Well, no, we'll skip the stuff that we don't care about. I'll just watch the matches.
No, I mean, like, now I just have to watch another show that I don't want to watch.
Right. But I will do it for the... I'm pretty sure I'll do it. I can't promise, but I like tag team wrestling, and I'm a bit of a completist when it comes to NXT stuff, right? I don't think I've ever missed any NXT since it existed, so I will check it out. I'll go and find it if I have to. Anything else?
Yep.
Go ahead.
AEW is reportedly moving locations in February. They're apparently looking to tape several Dynamite and Dark episodes in Miami, somewhere in Miami, as well as the Revolution pay-per-view. And I think then they'll return to Jacksonville afterwards. So just a temporary move, Do
you know why?
I think it's just a maybe morale boost, just a change of scenery for a bit.
Okay.
Maybe.
I guess, because it's not like you're...
Doesn't matter.
You're in the same state, right?
I'm hoping it at least results in a different entrance stage.
Yeah, you love those details, right? If they change the lighting or the stage or the Tron or something, you'll notice that for sure. So that'd be nice for you, I guess.
Yep. Nice.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. That finishes up our news and rumors, mostly news this week, which is good. And now we will transition into our first look at in-depth review of the Wednesday Night Wars, and that is our AEW Dynamite review, and that is mostly you, sir. So go ahead.
Yes. So we open with tag champs Young Bucks and SCU, Kaz and Daniels versus TH2 and the Acclaimed. Your classic AEW opener multi-man tag that we were getting like quite a bit.
Well, we actually started out, and you didn't get that quote, but JR saying it's Wednesday night, and you know what that means, which is obviously reference to Brody Lee. That was something he used to say, and what it means too. Like, because I was listening to someone say what it means, and that Brody Lee. And I think it sort of reveals what kind of guy he was, a pretty thoughtful guy, that apparently if you say that to people, right, like it's Saturday night and you know what that means or whatever, each person will sort of make their own meaning out of that, right? Like they'll take and apply what that means to them, and hopefully it's a good reason and sort of makes them happy a little bit, right? So it's kind of this cool idea, like he would say it because it means something different to everybody else, whatever you're into or whatever you like to do, right? So it's kind of a cool, convenient way for them to just keep honoring him by saying stuff like that. So I thought it was a nice little inclusion there by JR.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it kind of starts into a brawl, slingshot ponchos by Daniels and Matt Jackson. Bucks double team Evans, Jack Evans that is, of TH2. And then a double Escalera thingy by Nick. It's like a arm drag and head scissors simultaneously on both the TH2. It's kind of cool.
It is.
And then a dive onto the pile by Nick, your classic. Oh, everyone's looking up.
Everyone huddle and look up and wait for a guy to fall on you.
Heels take control. A double team on Daniels by the Acclaimed. Yes, they're getting offense. And
Helico
tags in. And Helico and Daniels are now both legal. It's kind of confusing with the whole brawl thing starting out. But in Helico and Daniels are illegal men. As I say that, now Evans is tagging in. TH2 get a double team for a 2 count. Bowens tags in. Caster tags in. Blockbuster by Bowens and elbow drop by Caster. Angelico tags in, Phoenix Splash by Evans, and then a submission by Angelico after he like fakes a dive.
Right.
Bowens tags in, Kaz gets the hot tag as well, and Evans tags in, back and forth. Standing Sky Twister by Evans, because I definitely know what that is. Matt
it's like a flipping, twisting thing that most humans could never even attempt without hurting themselves, that Jack Evans easily does.
Jackson tags in, double Northern Light suplex to Evans and Bowens. Dive to Angelico and Caster on the outside. Risky business by the Bucks, which is the diving splash from the top rope, and the moonsault to the legs. Did I say for two? For two count. Buckle bomb, Damagiri. I think Matt Jackson buckle bombs him, and then it's like Daniels and someone else. They did the Damagiri to his head.
Right.
DDT by Kaz. Matt pins for two. Nick tags in. Nick and Kaz hit a BTE trigger, but Evans breaks it. Evans breaks the pin, sorry. Angelico tags in. Flatliner. Evans tags in. Nick counters the 630 senton. Matt Jackson tags in. Evans counters the Meltzer driver into a weird pin. Daniels tags in. Nick fakes the Meltzer driver and dives onto heels on the outside, and Daniels teams with Matt to hit a BME best Meltzer ever, kind of like combining the best moonsault ever into the Meltzer.
That's a cool idea.
Yep, and that gets the win for SC and the Bucks. Then Kaz cuts a promo, like some generic crowd pandering stuff, and then Daniel says they have the Bucks backs unless they face off in a title match, and then it's like, ooh, are we going to get a title match?
Right.
I thought this was a pretty good opener, but the heels looked too weak, in my opinion.
I thought it was a fun, wild opener. Things happening all over the place. Probably not easy for you to take notes on. I didn't mind Kaz's promo at the end because it's adding more stakes, right? So not only is it like a title match, but if they lose, they're no longer going to be a team. So I kind of like adding a little bit there. I thought I just wanted to point out another really good entrance by the Acclaimed. Caster is good on the mic, man, and I know
I've been watching Buck Hunt way too much.
And he takes some heat because it's a John Cena gimmick. Yeah, but it's 20 years later, and it's modified, and it's good. Cena, say what you will about him. Back then, he was doing a bang-up job on that too, man. Honestly,
yeah, but I almost think like this is like a little more clever rather than just like insulting.
Some of early Cena hip-hop before he kind of got censored himself was pretty good, actually. So it's similar for sure, but I think they do a really good job, and I'm instead of almost fast forwarding people's entrances, I'm looking forward to theirs, and I want to hear what he's going to say, so that has to be a good thing for them,
Lucha
right?
Bros have a cool one. Hangman has a cool one. TH2 have
Omega
a cool
right
one.
now, just with his
my God.
announcement.
And we'll talk about it later. His intro this week was really funny.
Yep, but
Cross, carrying Cross on NXT.
Yes, amazing. I thought this was a really fun opener, right? And I think I'm a little bit more open to the opener after we'll talk about it later. I think we checked out a bit of Raw, so we'll come back to that. But after watching Raw, I am very happy with this opener. For sure.
It was really good. And my only complaint was this. I think the heels didn't do enough,
right?
In my opinion.
They did some offense this time, which was nice.
No, they did. But I just think they looked a little too weak.
So I can confirm that the Acclaimed can do wrestling moves now after we're into their third or fourth match. We know they can wrestle a little bit.
We can confirm for
which
everyone.
Is great.
Yes, that is good to confirm. Next, we get Jon Moxley's official return. I am very happy to see this.
What
guy
about
back.
this? Did you just gloss over there was some monster truck thing?
Oh yeah.
And I just have monster truck thing already. Already too much promotion of Cody and Snoop's show, and we're 16 minutes in.
I swear, it is all over the barricade. Cover
ring
things,
apron,
and it's on the ring apron, on the barricade thing, whatever, and there's a special ring post covers, and then also it's on the apron,
and they talk about it a lot. I almost it was a contributing factor to me knocking the grade down just a tiny bit, because it was I made a note already.
And this is a TV special. There should be some special apron for that, not for a knockoff America's Got Talent.
And we're in 16 minutes in, and it's already been very noticeable to me. So that's not great. But anyways, carry on.
I'm very happy to see Mox back.
Me too.
This was my favorite guy in WWE for undoubtedly my favorite guy. So. Yep,
you were on the bandwagon early before he got cool in AEW.
Yes, I was also a child, and he was just.
That's
cool.
True. You were a child.
Mox says people probably expected him to curse and complain about winter is coming. Mox says the world is a bad place, and sometimes you're on the wrong end of bad situations. Mox says when that happens, you tough it out and never back down. And I just wrote, whoever in charge of censorship, whether it's TNT or TSN over here, they are terrible. Someone will say a swear word, and then like 2 seconds after, you'll hear the censorship.
So I honestly,
like,
and maybe it's
awful.
different for our American listeners. If anyone wants to email us and tell us or Instagram us, that would be great, because we did pick up some listeners in some new states as well. But yeah, I don't think they've ever caught one curse word correctly censoring it. I can't remember.
Not
it's
completely.
Always a second to 2 seconds after. So if they ever say anything important after the curse word, we're going to miss it. But we're going to get the curse word in there. So yeah, they do a terrible job.
Mox says Phoenix has earned his shot, so he's not going to interfere in the match, which I think was kind of cool. He's like, yeah, I want to beat the hell out of Omega, but I'll at least wait just for Phoenix, because he deserves the shot.
Right. It's the cool babyface thing to do, right?
He tells Omega he'll get even and then some, and he says when he says something he's gonna do, he does it. Yep.
It wasn't my favorite Mox promo, but it was still intense and effective. It's not bad by any means.
He's ever gonna have a bad
one.
No,
and that's what I'm trying to qualify it. I don't want to say it's not my favorite and people are like, oh, you hated it. No, it was still fine. It's just not my favorite one he's ever done. Yes. But even a bad Mox promo is still
definitely an improvement from Dean Ambrose, the hot dog carts and the
for sure
stuff.
He has input now, so they're always going to be decent.
And the Asylum, like when he had the Ambrose Asylum and he was like replacing the Jericho feud.
Right.
Ugh.
All good times.
Yeah. If you're a child, which I was.
You were.
Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy interview because Trent's out. Says Trent will be out for 4 or 5 months, and Miro and Kip Sabian interrupt. Miro says Chuck will be out too because Miro says Trent is the leader, because that definitely makes sense. Miro offers for Chuck to be his quote-unquote friend. Chuck says he'll beat Miro next week instead, and Miro says if Chuck loses, Chuck has to be Miro's young boy until after the wedding, and Chuck agrees, but because why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. I still don't care too much.
Couple things. 4 to 5 months is a crazy long time. That's like half a year, so that's almost, right? Depending. A lot of times, though, these guys are in such great shape and work so hard that they're back a little bit quicker, so I hope he is, because I do like Trent.
Like Ciampa as a recent example.
Yes.
He used to stay out forever with that neck injury. He came back like freakishly soon.
Yeah. A, most of them are really tough people, and B, they work really, really hard, right? So
yeah. I know Cena didn't, like when he got injured late 2007, he came back, and that's when he returned and won the Rumble. He came back like super soon.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that.
I don't, but I know there's been a whole lot of history of wrestlers coming back a bit quick, right?
Yeah.
I thought for Miro this wasn't bad at all. This was one of the better segments he's had.
I wish I cared more.
Chuck looks silly because I'm going to explain. So in the poker world, we call this, or maybe gambling in general, poker being what I focus on, I guess, or focused on. It's a negative free roll. So you're making a bet with a guy where the other guy gets something and you get absolutely nothing, right? Like you can only lose
what I'm saying. Like,
in this situation.
Why would he agree to this?
So he was sort of saying that he would accept to get Miro to go away, right? So they tried to explain why he would accept, but
it still just feels really weird.
You don't look smart accepting a negative free roll, right?
No.
So I get nothing if I win, and I lose a whole bunch if I lose. That's not exactly intelligent, but they're just trying to say, I just wanted you to go away, so I accepted. And I guess he's supremely confident that he's going to beat Miro. But on the plus side, this was one of Miro's better interactions as far as I'm concerned, so I'm hoping this is a start of him moving in a direction that we would prefer.
Yes. Honestly, this is probably at this point one of the guys where he was better in WWE. Like,
he was for sure when he was doing Rusev Day.
Yes.
You know what I noticed sort of to go
even before that when he was like mega heel.
Before you get into the Haas fight, you know what I noticed looking through my closet to pick out a shirt the other day? Is that as a wrestler, if I buy your wrestling shirt, you got to worry because the shirts I have are Rusev Day. I have an Aleister Black shirt.
Andrade.
I have an Andrade shirt.
Pete Dunne.
I have a Pete Dunne shirt, which I guess now he's back to prominence sort of thing, right? And I have a Johnny Impact shirt from
I too have
from
one.
somewhere, and I have a Lucha Underground shirt somewhere, which doesn't even exist anymore. So I apologize, Wrestling World. If I buy your T-shirt, you should start looking for
Brody
get
Lee.
That resume update.
Well,
is all I'm
you're gonna
saying.
have Brody Lee too, so
Right.
I guess there's another.
That's
one.
true. The Brody Lee shirts are on their way.
They're prominent, but like at the same time not prominent. Like I don't know how to say that.
All right, let's talk about the Haas fight.
Haas fight. Wardlow versus Jake Hager. My first note is all caps, Hoss fight.
And we haven't talked at all about this, so I'm interested to see how you felt about it. So go ahead.
Wardlow gets a pre-match interview in one of those like video things. I didn't make any notes.
I thought that was pretty good. Like he even has potential on the mic. Like this guy could be a big deal.
I think with MJF around him, I don't think he needs to have potential on the mic.
But it's nice to see that he can, right? Because at some point that split's going to happen, and he's going to have to speak for himself more than likely. So at least we see that he can.
That guy who's always mute.
Yeah.
Holds and counters, corner shots by Wardlow, shoulder tackle standoff, leapfrog by Wardlow, outside strike exchange, double clothesline on the outside, corner shoulder blocks by Wardlow. Wardlow slams Hager afterwards. Suplex tosses by Wardlow for 2. I think there's like 3 in there.
There were.
Corner clothesline by Hager, short arm clothesline by Hager. Slam thingy by Hager that he always does.
I'd also just said slam because I didn't know how to explain it.
I don't know what they don't call it anything. That big slam.
Yes.
Wardlow gets feet up for it. They call it the Hager bomb, but I said swagger bomb because that's what I know it as.
Vader bomb.
Swagger bomb.
For old people.
Well, Vader bomb was like you climb up the rope slowly and like gear up for it. His is just like you run, jump over them, and then like go out of the corner. It's like it's a faster Vader bomb.
Okay.
I remember him calling it the swagger bomb. I remember he did like the Royal Rumble or something.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, swagger bomb. It's like it didn't even look super impactful.
Right.
But like whatever, swagger bomb. But Hager counters an ankle lock. So Wardlow gets his feet up, but Hager grabs the foot when he comes down and counters into an ankle lock. But Wardlow gets out shortly. Shoulder tackle off of the apron by Wardlow, sending Hager into the barricade. Suplex move and German suplex by Wardlow for a 2 count. Swanton bomb by Wardlow for 2, which was pretty cool.
I thought it looked really nice.
Yep. He did like the thing where like he kind of goes out and then tucks in, which is why I know it was a Swanton bomb. But yeah, it looked really good.
And
for
it
a big
got
man.
reversed into a submission, I think, right, by Wardlow or something.
Hager kicks out and rolls into a grounded triangle hold. It's like the standing triangle, but grounded.
Right.
So it's a grounded standing triangle.
Does that make sense?
Wardlow gets the rope break, standing triangle on second turnbuckle, but Wardlow drops down to get out, and then the F10 for the win.
A nice F10 to a big man.
Yes, and then a fist bump afterwards. And I thought this was actually a pretty good Hoss fight. The right outcome was here for sure. I'm sure you will agree.
Yes, I do.
I honestly wouldn't mind a rematch at some point if there's some decent storytelling, and this did exceed my expectations.
I agree. This was a good match. Wardlow looked really good.
Yep.
I felt like he seemed to be the focus of this match, right?
Which I think is what they should have been doing.
And it's what I always say about Wardlow. It's power moves, then the odd burst of surprising athleticism. Like, oh, okay, this guy can do a nice senton off the top.
Yes.
He hits his high impact finisher on a big man, and it looked good, and he wins clean. Again, just what you said, right? This is the right result. I really like their treatment of Wardlow since even before he debuted, right? When it was even just the coming soon or whatever those vignettes were. He's a future star for this company, and they're just sort of slowly bringing him along. I think they're doing a great job with him, and I thought this was a really good match, and I enjoyed a Hager match, which is not what I'm known for, so good job by them.
Yes. Next we get Private Party backstage. They got Jen, and they're like, we need juice, and Snoop Dogg brings juice. Yay, Snoop Dogg already. Matt Hardy brings contracts to Private Party. He's like preaching, I think, manager contracts.
Yeah, it is.
Weird.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm not a monster. You can still make money off of Twitch and Cameo. Which
he
is
takes a shot at.
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
A decent segment.
So
I don't really understand what the point was here.
Well, they sort of tried to tie it in because they were Private Party was asking him why he was grabbing the chair the week before, right? Remember, he was trying to get them to use a chair in their match.
Yeah.
And he was also apparently this contract is he gets 30% of their earnings, which is a very high rate for the manager to get. But he's promising them it'll be worth it. So it sets up kind of an interesting dynamic for me where you've got super babyface tag team and their manager is like
almost a heel.
Quasi heel, I think.
I think like almost a heel.
But it seems like he's already stepping back from the whatever character he was just doing. What did we call that? Something Matt.
Big Money Matt.
Big Money Matt. Like
that seems to be what this is.
You think?
If anything.
The attitude seemed a bit different.
But like, I think because he's after, like, he's trying to get a big cut of them. That's big money.
That's a very good point. He is after the money. So I'm interested to see where this goes.
Yeah,
Private Party needs a little something
happens.
new for me.
This could be that.
And he can speak for them and stuff. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'm interested.
I'll just.
And again, it's just a quick way to use Snoop without getting him too involved, because we see what happens later when he gets really involved.
Because we would never want him to get too involved.
Anyways, carry on.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll get there.
And I'll probably get mad. Darby Allin versus Brian Cage weigh-in. And I just want to say, this is a fine segment. They've done it before, but I honestly wonder what the point of this is, because it's not like a cruiserweight division. It's not like there's a weight requirement. It's just seeing what they weigh.
It seems like a really forced way of getting them to interact, right?
Right.
Like you could have done. I mean, it doesn't really bother me,
not that I know it's like overdone a lot, but contract signing honestly makes more sense here.
In this case, it is kind of cool to draw attention to the sheer difference in size, like over 100 pounds of difference.
Yeah, well,
that's something worth pointing out, I guess.
Darby Allin walks in with the new TNT Championship. It is the same plates, basically, more or less.
Yes.
But with a black strap, looks better. It just looks sleek. Not that the first one looked bad per se, in my opinion, but this one's definitely an improvement.
I'm not a fan of the brightly colored straps. I like, you can go brown, black, or white.
Brown.
in my world, if you want to. I don't know. I'm colorblind too, so.
You
kind
mean
of
green?
Like purple and blue and red. I don't know. It looks more like a child's toy to me than a championship belt, but that's just me. I'm old, man, you know.
Yes, you are.
True. Can confirm.
Cage weighs in at 272 pounds.
Yep.
And Darby weighs in at 170.
So interesting, right? Because in theory, weight classes matter in a real fight. So this is a huge man versus average.
So Darby
size man.
takes Tony Schiavone's mic. Darby says Taz says the feud is 9 months in the making, but he says it's really 27 years because he's dealt with Shizzle his whole life.
Yep.
Darby says to get to the fun part, and Taz tells Tony to leave, but then Sting, and I'm like, watch out, Team Taz, it's a retired old man dressed like a goth, be careful.
Well, they
before
do
you
retreat.
Get beat up. Yes,
so
they
retreat.
Know. Taz says Cage will be the new TNT champion next week. This, not only did I think this weigh-in was pointless going in, but now that I know it was just for Sting, I think it's more pointless. This is just,
I wasn't a huge fan of this.
I didn't love this.
Darby Allin doesn't need this, in my opinion. He was almost more interesting when he didn't really have allies, or if he did, it was just because he had to for a week or whatever.
Yeah, like when he was teaming with Mox or whatever.
I also don't think this is doing anything for Team Taz at this point.
It's hurting them.
And it doesn't look like, I don't know, I don't think Cage is going to win, right? I don't know.
No, they would have booked him stronger. They would have booked him like... They would have booked him like kind of like they're booking Wardlow. They're booking Wardlow better than like the guy who's challenging for a title.
So if Cage loses again, unless it's some shenanigans, he's not looking super strong these days. But
yeah,
I don't know. So I didn't love this either. I don't think
I thought
he needs
the weigh-in
Sting,
was pointless to begin with, and then Sting coming out just made it worse.
I think we've established the Sting return is not for us. So anyways,
no, I hate it every second of it.
Okay, next.
The Sting return. The segment was whatever.
Yep.
MJF backstage. MJF comes to Jake Hager losing his damn mind. MJF says Jake is a winner. MJF says he's still Jake Hager and he's undefeated MMA. It's like Hager's like, thanks for checking on me or whatever.
Love this, and here's why. It feels like MJF is slowly and quote unquote sincerely, because remember the thing with Ortiz last week? He's going to win over the members of the inner circle. So right, Ortiz, now Hager, and eventually then try to challenge for the leadership of the group, right? Is what I'm hoping they're going. And AEW would do a great job of slowly building this and revealing this to us.
True.
So I'd be fine with it if that's where that's going. And they could make it last for months, sort of long enough to, not that we forget, but that the current feud, or the feud that just happened between MJF and Jericho's a little bit further in the rearview mirror, and they can build back to them again, battling for supremacy of the group sort of thing. Instead of it being battling to get in the group, it can now be a battle to who runs the group. And I also just want MJF to be the sneaky, weaselly heel, right? I don't want him to actually be sincere and being friends with these guys. I want it to be for some ulterior motive, right? Like he's trying to get them all on his side to basically have a coup, a timely reference.
Right. I was just reading a news thing or looking through news while you're saying that, and I found an interesting thing. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about this. It is Impact related.
Sure.
Apparently, Ace Austin was originally set to be the Impact champion twice.
Should have been.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
And now he's moved back to being X Division like one of the group in the X division, which I'm not thrilled about, but he also still works at Hot Topic. Remember I told you that?
Yeah.
He's just like, I get to kind of pick my hours at this point, and it's a little side money, and I get good discounts. So I thought that was kind of neat, like just a regular guy, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, back on topic.
Sorry?
Hot Topic.
Oh,
we
nice.
are shown a clip from Dark the previous night with Brody Lee Jr. and Marco Stunt. Kind of Brody Lee continuing the Dark Order gimmick and saying he was like talking to Marco Stunt, kind of calling him like a loser and saying like
he cut a good promo.
It was like apparently it was self-written too.
For
like,
an 8-year-old kid,
this was really good.
Honestly, he does better than some of the adults. And can you imagine 5 years ago stepping into a ring and cutting a promo? Probably not, right? So I thought that was pretty cool. Normally I wouldn't even comment on it, but the kid did a really good job.
Yeah, and this is interesting, like a kid recruiting this guy who is kind of a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He may use that contract when he turns 18. He's got one waiting for him, right?
I think, if this is anything to go by, I think he would be an asset.
Yeah, I was impressed
maybe
too.
One of AEW's first like second generational talents right there.
Right.
So we get a Jurassic Express interview to follow this. Very nice timing. FTR interrupting trash talk Marco. Marco says he'll take Luchasaurus' spot in the tag match next week. No, replace Jungle Boy. Don't replace Luchasaurus. So it's going to be Jungle Boy and Marco versus FTR next week.
So I kind of like this because the way I want to look at it, because I love FTR, is that they're like, it's the classic, they're playing chess while you're playing checkers. They just got you to substitute a giant monster who's killing everybody for a child-sized person, right? So I like to think that this was FTR's plan to begin with, and that now they are facing a much lesser team on their way to get back in the title hunt. Yeah, so I liked it.
But just as a person just as the
of
match
course, I'd
aspect,
rather watch
I'd
Luchasaurus.
Rather see Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy, or even Luchasaurus and Marco, because I think that'd be a funny dynamic. But
as the thinking man scheming heels, I like it.
That is a good point.
Yep.
Though. Next we get Matt Sydal versus Cody Rhodes. Perhaps
with Snoop.
Yes, Cody enters to a weird like hybrid of a Snoop Dogg rap and then also his theme. It really sucked, like hard.
And I know I criticize Cody, but this just feels like you'll get the most attention, Snoop, if you come out with me. I know their show is together, right? But I'm the biggest deal here, so...
Right. I guess at least they're on the show together. If they weren't on the show together and he came out with Cody, then I would agree with you. And I do still kind of agree with you, but at least there's the small aspect of they're on a show together.
Well, that's a pretty big aspect, I imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to be mean to Cody because it's my gimmick at this point. Kinda. I like his matches. Just not sure I'd get along with him as a person.
Maybe in real life.
Maybe.
At least not his promos.
Maybe.
If you're talking to kayfabe Cody, I'm sure you'd lose your mind.
I would.
Yeah. Holds encounters and poor Matt Sydal after kind of botches a flipping arm drag thingy. Poor buddy.
It was not good, no.
But then he hits a sick Meteora on the stage. I thought that looked pretty cool.
Right at Snoop's feet, basically, too, right? Like he's right there.
And Sydal hurts his knee on the landing. So I wonder if a certain blonde Rhodes will apply a certain figure 4 later.
Probably not.
No. Okay. Cody gets out of the ring but tries to skin the cap. Sydal drop kicks him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Cody accidentally hits Serpentico. Wonder if that'll set up something later.
No.
Cody counters a crossbody and applies sharpshooter. They call it Scorpion Deathlock, but I didn't want to call it that because that would be referencing Sting. Sydal gets out. Inverted superplex by Cody post-commercial break. Those are always pretty cool.
One thing just before that I thought was funny is that they're trying to act like Snoop's the coach and he's like calling plays.
Right.
And it's because, of course,
holding Arn's paper.
Snoop would have lots of great wrestling advice for Cody Rhodes, right? Because
Yeah. I'm actually going to talk about that a bit later.
A kid literally raised in the wrestling business probably needs some advice from Snoop Dogg on how to wrestle, I would assume. Makes sense. 2
count. And then Sydal avoids a moonsault. And I actually took the time to note this. It was quite clever. We always complain about the dive spots where everyone's looking up, waiting for the person. Sydal uses cleverly because he actually was looking up, right? Then at the last second, sidestepped out of the way. I just thought that was a really cool touch.
Yep.
Like, kind of using this wrestling trope to, like,
to
his advantage.
Like, here I am, standing really staggered, waiting for you. Nope. I'm fine.
Like, I just thought that was really cool.
Yep.
Knee strike by Sydal. Cody gets knees up on the airborne. Yes, I'm still going to call it that. Inverted DDT by Cody. Kind of like where he drops on his stomach, not like Scorpion Death Drop style, which is the usual one, but kind of the one Christian used to do.
You just made another reference to Sting, buddy. Can't escape it.
Seidel gets Cody in a grounded Cobra clutch. I think that's what it was called.
I believe so. That's what they called it anyways.
By they, we mean Excalibur.
Right.
Both hit apron hard on clothesline over the top rope because we can't trust Tony or JR to call moves. I mean, JR can call moves that, like, everyone would know, but...
Yeah.
Anyways, disaster kick back in the ring by Cody for a 2. Seidel gets out of the vertebreaker attempt, which made me sad because I want to see a good vertebreaker.
Love a vertebreaker.
Many counters, but Seidel gets a Hurricane Rana for 2. Lightning spiral for 2 by Seidel.
Very cool.
Yes. Cody counters a knee strike into a crossroads and a second crossroads for the win.
That was like you're not a complete jobber, Matt Seidel. You take 2 crossroads, so
right.
that's a badge of honor.
Chaos Project attack Cody after Seidel and Cody fight them off, and Snoop Dogg hits a splash on Serpentico. And all I'm going to say is literally the only worst splash I've ever seen is Vicky Guerrero.
I saw
and if you know, you know.
I saw it described as the tadpole splash in some places, which it was really, really weak.
Yeah, it was like the only one worse is Vicky Guerrero. And Vicky Guerrero's was like at WrestleMania once. It was awful.
And Luther, man, I'm sure you were good at some point, and I'm sure you're buddies with Jericho, but can we just agree that Luther shouldn't be doing stuff anymore? Because he just looks really weak doing all of this stuff. Nothing he does looks believable to me.
Even his kicks.
The attack was weak, and then it was the worst splash ever, arguably, to Serpentico. I thought the match itself was good overall. There were a couple spots where they were clearly out of sync and a borderline botches, but overall I enjoyed it. The result was never in doubt, right? Seidel is the jobber to the stars. We've talked about this. The aftermath was pretty bad and was just to promote Cody's show. But it was short, I guess, is the plus side, so I forgive them.
Yeah.
And one minor note, seeing Snoop Dogg without sunglasses when he took them off was really weird, because I honestly couldn't tell you when I've ever seen Snoop Dogg without sunglasses on. So it was interesting to see.
I thought it was a decent match, but it was kind of boring. Both are good, but Cody's strength in matches is his like good in-ring work with his in-ring storytelling abilities. You can't really do that with a kind of random match that Cody was always going to win.
Right.
It was a decent match, but had no story and was pointless. Also, Snoop Dogg is not believable and would be a terrible wrestling coach anywhere. He should never attempt a wrestling move ever again.
And I mean, if you want to make him a coach, fine, but it's not coaching Cody Rhodes. Get somebody brand new to the business or something, right? Like Taz's kid or something. I don't know.
But then I'd feel bad for Taz's kid.
I don't know. You've got some bee in your bonnet for Snoop Dogg. I don't really have a problem with him.
He's not a wrestling coach, bro. Let's be honest.
I know, but
all he would do is
it's wrestling. They're going to cross-promote things. That's what they do.
Yes, but I wish it wasn't so prominent.
Okay, that's fair. I didn't mind it.
Hikaru Shida versus Abaddon next, AEW Women's Title match.
Abaddon.
Abaddon attacks Shida during her entrance. Brawl on stage, kind of stick shot to Abaddon's head. I wonder if she'll sit up. Yes, she sits up. Match starts. Abaddon continually tries to bite Shota. I wrote Shota.
Yeah.
With a capital H too.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Sahota.
Snapmare drop kick by Shida. Abaddon catches knee lift and bites Shida's leg. Abaddon takes Shida under the ring, aka hell.
Yeah.
Remember, if you go under the ring, you've been to hell.
Well, and you're gonna get eaten.
Right, and you're gonna get eaten. Yes. Abaddon comes out with more blood in her mouth, and Shida crawls out holding her neck. Wonder what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Corner forearms by Abaddon. X Factor for 2 by Abaddon, because all the women must do that move at some point in their careers.
I think it's like one of the first things you learn. It must be, because the other person's just taking a front bump.
Yeah, you have to learn to jump and take a bump on your butt
while
slamming someone's face into the mat
with
minimal amount of force.
Yep.
Abaddon repeatedly rams Shida's face into the ring mat. Crossbody to outside by Shida. Shida rams Abaddon's head repeatedly into barricade. Superplex by Shida. Fake blood on Shida sucks. It looks like she got paint on her and tried to wash it off and failed.
The superplex was nice, though.
Yeah. Abaddon does a Bray Wyatt. Clothesline by Abaddon for 2. Shida counters Widow's Peak for 2. And running knee for the win by Shida. She won a little too easily, in my opinion, but...
So I think it's clear that Abaddon is not a strong wrestler, as I suspected, because they worked really hard to find ways, right? Brawling before the match, crawling under the ring. So
crawling to hell.
She did very little in terms of technical wrestling.
The fake blood was really bad.
And I shouldn't say maybe she can't do it, but I think she is...
If she could, they would have shown us.
Well, I don't know. I think maybe they could argue that her character would not be a technical wrestler, right? You're not going to
right, but at
have
least
that
you could
gimmick
have
and come in and
some more
Benoit them.
wrestling moves, at least, I would say.
For sure. They did a decent job of trying to hide it, that she's not super strong. Her style lends itself to the more brawling and violence than wrestling anyway, so I thought it was
right,
decent.
I think they should have maybe catered a match type to that then, like even like Falls Count Anywhere or something, but...
Decent, not bad match. It felt like it was sort of just to bridge the gap till Shida is waiting for, I don't know who it's going to be, but whoever's
that has
next.
A chance of defeating her.
I think it's obviously going to be whoever's the 5th ranked in the division, right? Whoever is 5th ranked gets a title shot.
I think it could be whoever wins the Baker Rosa feud, if I'm being honest.
Yep, I would assume that's where they're going, right? Which would then, it seems like it would be Baker to get the heel face, but I don't know.
Baker could win the title.
So Abaddon needs some work, but her character and look are really awesome. So
I almost don't want Baker to win the title, and that's because the title is ugly.
So if they do have this extra hour of television, she would be where I would put in that middle. Like, I want it to be dark is for the really green and developing, and then this whatever the middle show.
Abaddon, it would be like somewhat prominent, but like
because she has her character pretty much nailed down, right? She just needs more seasoning. So to me, she would go in that middle tier. But anyways, this is how I'm planning AEW for them, but I doubt they're gonna listen to me.
Brian Cage versus Darby Allin for the TNT title will be next week, as well as Chuck Taylor versus Miro. And if Chuck loses, he has to be Miro's young boy until after the wedding, because Chuck's putting it all on the line here. Serena Deeb versus Tay Conti for the NWA women's title, which could be good.
So I put Tay Conti deserves a title shot. Is she ranked number 5 or something?
Maybe
because who's she beaten? What has she done?
She won that tag match last week.
I guess. I don't know.
But then you could argue Anna Jay.
This women's division, as someone who loves AEW, man, I really don't understand exactly where they're going. And I don't think they do either.
This is the NWA women's title, so I don't think there's rankings for that.
I guess.
To be fair. And then Tay Conti cuts a quick promo, says she respects Deeb, but she's coming for the title. Doy, that's when you're in the match.
Yeah.
She reminds us of her martial arts accomplishments and said she had the Dark Order with her. So
I thought it was fine.
Possibly.
It was super quick, right? It was a very fast segment.
Just to add something to that tag.
Guess so. Trying to get a little bit of heat for that match, I guess.
Yes. The Elite are in action next week, so I'm assuming that's the Young Bucks. Like,
I don't know.
And someone, because like Omega's a heel and Cody's kind of doing his own thing, so it would be Cody and the Bucks.
I don't know what the Elite is anymore, to be honest.
The Elite is technically speaking Omega.
I know technically, but
right. I know it's technically Omega, Rhodes, and the Bucks.
Right.
But
they're all kind of on different.
FTR versus Jurassic Express next week. Inner Circle's New Year's resolutions next week. That should be fun.
Yep.
Britt Baker's Waiting Room will make the debut on Dynamite. Apparently, this has been like a dark segment.
I have seen it on.
Special guest Cody Rhodes.
I've seen it on Dark once or twice.
Could you have picked a worse first guess?
It'll get eyes on it, and he can do a good job talking, so it's fine.
Sometimes.
It'll be all right.
Next, we get our long-awaited main event, which is Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix for the AEW World Championship. Yes, Death Triangle pre-match promo.
This should be awesome is my first note, and probably my notes are lackluster because I just wanted to watch, and you're in
another
charge
great
anyways.
Kenny Omega intro.
Yep.
It was really funny. It was something.
It gets me every time.
The North Carolina bit was really funny. I can't remember what it was, but it was really funny.
Gets me every time. Still enjoying it. Like I'm waiting for it to get old and stale, and it's not. I still enjoy it every time.
Almost like Orange Cassidy when he started, just waiting for it to get stale.
Yep.
It's like not. Omega was wearing a really cool attire. I must say, it was like kind of like fiery and like I don't know. It was really cool.
And one thing I really liked, I don't know if they blocked it this way on purpose or if it just sort of happened. You have Aubrey holding up the belt in the foreground, like as they always do before a title match. And behind her is Omega in the frame just yelling at Phoenix already, which I thought was a cool little touch. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I thought it looked really cool.
Nice. Holds and counters a Spike Hurricane Rana by Omega, which is pretty cool. Hurricane Rana by Phoenix. Phoenix does his dive avoid thingy. Hurricane Rana on the outside by Phoenix, kind of a weird springboard because Phoenix is insane like that.
Yep.
Omega avoids a corner heel kick, the springboard kind of heel kick thingy. Drop kick by Phoenix. Phoenix chops Omega, and Omega prevents a springboard with a chop of his own. Omega repeatedly rams Phoenix into the barricade. Phoenix hops over the barricade to avoid like an airstrip. Omega counters the cutter into a Snapdragon on the outside.
That looked really good.
Nice.
I'm a sucker for the Snapdragon.
Apron
and it
backdrop by Omega. He just like kind of back suplex position, drops him on the apron.
Yep.
Backdrop suplex, similar style on the top of the barricade, and those barricades are really thin, so that's gonna really
it looked
hurt.
pretty painful.
Yeah, and then a Kataro Crusher, which I just love for some reason. By Omega for 2. It's just like kind of cool. He just like he jumps over him nice and just it actually looks impactful, right? So
well, there's something about Omega that I don't know what it is, but everything he does looks a little bit more forceful, right? Like,
right, and it's not like it's like gracefully jumping over. It's like he barely gets over and then like just comes down with force.
It reminds me of Benoit, because that was the thing with him. He just did stuff everybody else did sometimes, but it just looked way more aggressive and intense.
Yes.
And Omega has that ability as well.
Backbreaker by Omega, overhand chop by Phoenix, chop exchange, springboard shoulder block by Phoenix, Omega avoids an Escalera attack, springboard dropkick by Phoenix, middle rope tope by Phoenix to the outside, moonsault into a German suplex by Phoenix for 2. That was really cool. Just out of the corner, moonsaults over Omega perfectly into a German suplex. Just seamless.
Very cool.
Yes. Double foot stomp to the back of the head on the apron by Phoenix.
I thought that looked cool too.
Nice. Super kick by Phoenix post commercial break. Our stupid remote, we had to rewind to see this a couple times. Yeah. V trigger by Omega after avoiding the heel kick, but Phoenix kips up right after and hits a super kick. That was a great sequence.
Yeah, it looked awesome.
Omega counters the spinning crossbody with a knee, just kneeing him in the face. Stacking powerbomb for 2 by Omega. V trigger for 2. V trigger. Just write V trigger.
Yep.
Because
we
all know who does it.
Another move I don't think other people can make look as good. There's something
just, like,
about Omega.
Charges in it and just like
it looks killer every time.
You'd think people would be able to see it coming, but you just like they usually don't avoid it, and he just comes in with
gets me every time still.
And it doesn't even look like he's actually hurting them yet. Like it looks like it hurts, but like I'm
sure
think
it's safe.
Right. It looks like it's safe.
Yep.
Phoenix counters the one-winged angel into the poison rod. That should just be like the automatic counter to that move.
Yeah, that's looked great. I'm a sucker for poison
Omega
Ranas.
rolls out of the ring. Phoenix is on the stage. Callister tracks Phoenix. V trigger as Phoenix tries to enter the ring. Domagiri by Phoenix. Phoenix jumps off a springboard to hit an outside in cutter.
Nice.
He comes off the stage and comes into the ring to hit a cutter. It looks awesome. For 2, Fire Thunder Driver by Phoenix for a near fall. Face stomps by Phoenix, kind of like when Daniel Bryan was doing that.
Right.
Omega counters a frog splash. He was like tributing Eddie Guerrero, and that kind of bought Omega the time. Omega counters springboard into a Tiger Driver, V trigger for 2, and the one-winged angel gets Omega the win. He retains the title. And Don Callis is cutting a promo. Callis shows Kingston and friends attacking Death Triangle, so Phoenix is no one to help him. Callis tells Omega to finish him off, but Moxley attacks with a barbed wire bat, and the Good Brothers are here. They attack Mox, so we're finally getting the Impact guys coming to AEW.
Finally.
Magic Killer to Mox, beat down on Mox. Anderson hands the barbed wire bat to Omega. He hits Mox a bunch of times. Varsity Blondes try to help. Multiple crowd people are trying to help and fail as well.
Varsity Blondes?
Yeah, they're just beating them up, and Gallus power bombs are random and through the Timekeeper stable, which is pretty cool. And Young Bucks come out and try to reason with Omega and Good Brothers, and then the Hollywood Blonde, damn it. Varsity Blondes are holding Omega at the ropes. Matt superkicks Garrison. It's kind of like he was helping his friend, but he's still like not agreeing with it. Kenny offers up the 2 Sweet Bucks join in. So it's like, and they looked a little reluctant too. So it's like they're joining in. So I'm not sure if they're like joining or like joining because they're friends.
And that's the beautiful subtlety of AEW, right? They're gonna let you wonder until they want you to know.
Yep. This match was great. Let's get one thing straight. But however, I think with a good and proper feud, this would be an all-timer. But I think there's an opportunity to revisit this for a better match.
Mm-hmm.
But this is still really good, without a doubt. And I can't wait for Mox Omega rematch because their first one was amazing.
Right.
Good Brothers showing up was a cool surprise, regardless of how we feel about them. The Bucks joining was a cool swerve, and they, like I said, they almost seemed hesitant or regretful. So that will be an interesting future storyline. Great match and great aftermath to end the show. AEW truly know how to end a wrestling show in style.
I love this match. So many amazing moves. I think I preferred it considerably to the Penta Omega match. Pretty much nonstop action. I was captivated completely by at least the last 75 to 80% of this match. I prefer it. I was just trying to think off the top of my head at that point to most any WWE main roster pay-per-view match I've seen in quite a while. I enjoyed this match more than that. The post-match action was good. If I'm going to nitpick a little bit, it sort of took away from the match, right? Because I was just pumped and loved the match, and then it's almost like this kind of overshadowing it a little bit, which I didn't. It was
pretty insane.
But it is still a cool scene at the end. And yes, I'm very critical of the Good Brothers a lot of the time on Impact, But I honestly think, and it's not a great character trait of theirs, especially I think it's mostly Gallows. I think if it's a prominent role and they know there's a lot of eyes on them and it's important, that they will put on a good match. And because, like I even said, I forget
and they have
when
better style and talent to work with.
When they won the tag championships in Impact, I actually liked that match, and I thought Gallows looked really good. I just think that he's one of those guys.
Unless there's something really in it for him.
He's signed for big money. He's cashing checks. He's coasting along until there's something that really grabs his attention. And if anything's going to grab his attention, it's this storyline. So I'm actually pretty confident that they'll, and I think Anderson's still really good. So I'm pretty confident that they'll pull through for this and put on a good show.
Overall, the show is pretty good. Opener was a little too one-sided, but still entertaining after watching Monday Night Raw. I honestly can't complain about a decent multi-man tag match rather than a crappy promo segment. Mox's return was cool and reminds us of his feud with Omega is not over, which is good. Hager versus Wardlow was an enjoyable house fight, and I'm interested in the Inner Circle segment for next week. Speaking of, next week's show looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to that for sure. The weigh-in seemed pointless even before I saw it, and I believe that more knowing it involves Sting. I said that before, not even remembering that I wrote it here.
That's okay. Reminder.
That's funny. Cody versus Seto was mediocre, but only because of the lack of any story. If there was some story there, I think it would be a much better match. Women's title match felt a little short, but that was made up for with a killer main event. All in all, this was a great TV special. I'd give it an A-. Great stuff once again from AEW.
Yeah, overall, I thought this was an excellent show. It absolutely flew by in terms of watching it.
Yeah, I know. Even when I was just recapping it now, I was like, wow, we're done already.
I agree. The women's match was probably the low point in ring, but I still didn't dislike it, to be honest. Like, it wasn't bad.
It was fine. I think we knew what was going to happen.
Right. I enjoyed all the other matches. Loved the main event. Impact finally makes its presence felt on AEW.
Right,
and I thought,
it's been a lot of Omega over there, right?
Yep.
And now it's Good Brothers are here.
And I thought they did a good job with that.
Yep.
My only criticism, I said it a little bit before, the final segment was really long and maybe almost overshadowed what I thought was an amazing main event match. And Sting's involvement wasn't my favorite, so I agree and gave it an overall grade of an A- and thought that this was a really good show.
This is not rehearsed, people.
No, it wasn't. Okay, so that ends our first in-depth review and takes us into our sort of break in between our two reviews. It's just our trivia-based segment where I challenge Jack to see what he knows in our weekly segment called Off the Top of His Head. All right, so because we've sort of been preparing for our worst of show that still may come out at some point, people.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
We got to find some time. We're all back at work and school and whatnot.
Everyone is waiting and anticipating.
We have at least a dozens.
We are working on it, though.
Here we are. So because I've sort of been thinking about that, I thought we would look at some of the worst matches in wrestling history. I think they're all WWE for this.
Fun.
I thought you might like that. So I've got a few random ones that I just sort of found from other sources, and then I think we end with Meltzer's 8 lowest rated matches ever as of summer 2020, unless he's had some worse since then. So I won't say they're for sure. It's as of, I think it was May of 2020.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yep.
This was an awful tag team match that included 4 very large in size competitors at Unforgiven 2001. It featured 2 huge in star power now WWF wrestlers against a top tag team from
Brothers of Destruction versus Chronic?
Remember back in the day when I said, let me finish the question? Let I say like 1,000 times?
Is it?
It would be the final appearance for the WCW tag team whose run in WWE in 2001 lasted about a month.
Was I right?
Your answer? I didn't
Brothers
hear
of Destruction versus Chronic?
That is correct. And actually, fun fact, because I'm super cool and lead a really full life. I went and watched the match.
Oh my god!
And I'm gonna be honest with you.
Why would you do that?
It was bad, but it was not. It wasn't like for me. It's not an all timer. The problem was Chronic's offense looks really the opposite of stiff. Whatever you want to say that like. Their boot to the stomach. Looks like
one of them Adam Bomb?
Yes. Again, it looks like it wouldn't break an egg. And these are huge men, and their offense looks like it wouldn't hurt at all.
It was really bad. I've heard things about it. I think I was also watching a little while ago every 2001 pay-per-view ranked from worst to best, courtesy of Cultaholic.
Right. So the second one, this is a rather timely one. You'll see why. 2 celebrity impersonators, one male and one female who looked nothing like the actual people, had an atrocious match on a 2007 Raw.
Ooh.
Think current events. What's going on in the news?
Oh, Bill Clinton.
No.
Hillary Clinton.
No.
Oh.
Celebrity impersonators.
Trump.
Yes. Versus.
Vince McMahon.
Nope. Female.
Hillary Clinton.
Rosie O'Donnell, who you wouldn't even know who it is.
I don't even know who that is.
So they got impersonators who don't even look like them at all. Like,
I just remember there was this impersonator thing with Hillary and Bill Clinton once. So.
You see Hangman Page put a tweet out saying that, or so who was it? No, it wasn't Page, sorry. Somebody wanted Trump removed from the WWE Hall of Fame.
Mick Foley.
There you go.
Hangman Page.
I don't know. He had some other tweet that was up in my head. Anyways, 2 stars who have had great matches in their careers had a really bad one for the World Heavyweight title at the Royal Rumble in 2003.
Oh, Triple H and Scott Steiner.
Correct. Very good. And I've liked both of those guys quite a bit in my time. This Survivor Series 2005, okay? Survivor Series 2005 match featured 2 authority figures, both non-wrestlers, and a surprise appearance by the Boogeyman.
I did not do this on purpose, but when I was showering, I was listening to every 2005 pay-per-view rank from worst to best. Eric Bischoff and Teddy Long.
Correct.
That was just really good time.
The Willick men listen to the radio while they shower. This is a fact.
YouTube, whatever. Same thing.
All right. 2 larger-than-life behemoths who combined weighed about half a ton put on a terrible match at In Your House 4 in 1995. This bout consisted almost entirely of clotheslines, missed moves, and punches, lasted only about 4 or 5 minutes, and ended with a double countout.
Mabel and Yokozuna?
Correct. Now we're getting into Meltzers.
I knew it was 90s, so I figured, and they're both
weighing half a ton, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you clues that are helpful. All right, so getting into Meltzer's list here.
Okay.
Number 8 on the list of Meltzer's lowest rated matches at -3 out of 10, and a bunch of them
are these WWE?
A bunch of them are tied. Yeah, I believe they all are. The match from King of the Ring 2000 placed 2 retired stars in a gimmick match previously reserved for divas. Match and participants, please.
Hardcore evening gown match, Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson.
That is correct.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that match.
Number 7 on the list of Meltzer's lowest rated matches, -3 out of 10 again, took place in 1999 at Unforgiven and featured a somewhat unique structure and animals.
Oh, Kennel from Hell match.
Yes.
Al Snow and Big Boss Man.
Correct. That one was brutal. I didn't go back and watch it again, but it was bad.
Blue bar steel cage inside of Hell in a Cell.
Yep.
I don't know why it was inside of Hell in a Cell.
And dogs that didn't do anything other than like walk around and pee on the
and poop on the ground and pee on the ground. And I don't know. I really don't understand what the point of the Hell in a Cell was.
I don't either.
Just maybe to keep the dogs there.
I think so.
Like,
or they'd go running into the crowd and pee on the crowd. Number 6 on the list of Meltzer's lowest rated matches, also -3 out of 10, took place at No Way Out 2007 and featured 2 wrestlers teaming with little person versions of their characters in a tag team match.
Finley and Hornswoggle versus Big Man and Little Boogeyman?
That is correct. Why would you know that?
I just know Little Boogeyman and Hornswoggle, so I just assumed.
That is correct.
I remember that happening at some point.
Number 5 on Meltzer's list of lowest rated matches, again a -3 out of 10, took place at WrestleMania 5 and featured 2 legend, one huge man and another currently in AEW, who put on a terrible match. This one's hard.
Ooh.
I tried to give you a hint.
WrestleMania 5.
So an all-time big man and a guy who's currently in AEW.
Andre the Giant.
Correct. Versus? He's a manager in AEW.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Correct. Very good.
Nice.
Okay. Number 4. On the list.
That makes sense because I remember there's a thing where Andre is afraid of the snake.
Near the end, but Andre couldn't do anything. Some would even say before the end. Like he was never going to be super agile or anything, but by the end, his matches were painfully slow. Number 4 on the list of Meltzer's lowest rated matches, -3.5 out of 10. So it's worse than the previous ones.
We're accelerating now.
Took place at In Your House in 1996 and featured a returning megastar who was so bad in this match that he would be released 4 months later. Fun fact, one of the competitors in the match took the time to smoke a cigar in the middle of the match.
Ultimate Warrior?
Correct. Versus?
Jerry Lawler?
No, but the cigar is a hint.
Gold Dust?
Correct. Very good. Why was the cigar a hint?
Marlena.
Right. So yes. I didn't go and watch this one. Apparently there's almost no wrestling involved in this match.
I remember him feuding with Gold Dust because I have that 25 years of Raw book?
Right.
Okay.
Nope, this was a bad one. All right.
Yeah.
Two of the biggest stars of all time had a terrible main event match at WrestleMania 3, and it earned the number 3 spot on Meltzer's lowest rated matches with a -4 out of 10.
Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant.
Right. Good old
Really?
Andre. Yep.
I guess that would be a pretty bad in-ring.
They're both awful, right? So
yeah. Hogan's only like decent when he has a hype crowd and then a decent opponent.
Honestly, back then it was more about the build and the story, right? And then people weren't
and Hogan slamming Andre.
Right. Number 2 on the list of Meltzer's lowest rated matches at a -5 out of 10 took place at the Wrestling Classic. If you know this one, we got problems because I don't know why you would know this. But anyways, I've said that before. Took place at the Wrestling Classic in 1985. Was less than a minute and had no referee. The winner counted the pinfall himself.
Hulk Hogan?
No. You won't even... I've never even heard of this one guy.
Gorilla Monsoon?
No. So I'll just tell you.
Oh, Tom McGee?
Do you know whose finishing move was the... What was it called? The thump, I think?
Junkyard Dog?
Correct.
And
the other guy was Moondog Spot, who I didn't even know.
I've heard of Moondog something, but
Me too, but I don't think it was Moondog Spot. So honestly, it was 43 seconds, and JYD hit crawling headbutts and then covered him basically and counted his own pinfall because I watched that one too.
That's dumb.
All right, you ready?
Why would you watch that?
I don't know. I did it, so because it was less than a minute. I went and found it. If it was like a 40-minute match, I wasn't going to go find it. So number 1, you ready?
Yeah.
And you should know this one. I think you'll get this one. Number 1 on the list of Meltzer's lowest rated matches at -5 out of 10 requires very little in the way of clues, I think. WrestleMania 2 boxing match.
Oh, Mr. T and Roddy Piper.
There's
literally an Elite 2-pack on it available at Ringside Collectibles.
That is Mr. Meltzer's all-time lowest rated match as of summer of this year. I don't think anything has surpassed it, but
interesting.
Yeah, it was awful because like wrestling fans, we don't want to watch boxing. If we wanted to watch boxing, we'd watch boxing.
And if you want figures from that exact match, they're on Ringside. Ringside, please sponsor me.
Nice. Yeah, sure. All right. So I think you did a very good job. This is kind of a fun one, I thought. You did a great job.
And I knew stuff I should not know.
Right. As always.
No.
And that will bring us to our next Wednesday night in-depth review, and that is our weekly NXT review.
New Year's Evil.
So the show starts with Dexter Lumis stalking down to ringside really, and going up onto this elevated platform where there's a control panel, and he starts hitting some buttons to try and get the lights and things going, and then notices a big lever and pulls that, and everything sort of starts. It felt like it was like a cartoony, like, there's a big red lever.
Right, and it had the New Year's Evil logo there. It's like, do they have that all the time, or is it just like...
So it was kind of cheesy, right? Especially Lumis, who's borderline like this stalker, whatever character, and now he's like...
I already hate him as a host already.
He's running the lights and sounds. So he flips this giant lever and all of the lights and effects come on. I thought it was really cheesy. It was
and the fans are suddenly there.
One of the only things I really didn't enjoy about this show, I mean, I'm not to spoil anything, but I thought
Dexter Lumis.
Yeah, this was a strong show, and this was one of the weaker moments of it. Just kind of silly, I think, to be honest. But anyways, the show is going to start with another bit of a hoss fight, right? We get Damian Priest versus Karrion Kross, and my first note was, man, I've missed this entrance, right? Another just superstar entrance by Karrion Kross.
Yeah, Priest had weird braided
Scarlett.
hair.
He did. He had a little bit of a new look. So these two guys come out, they tie up, and they tussle to start.
I can just hear Nate yelling because he is
playing Fortnite up there. Yeah, I can hear him.
Sorry, please continue.
2 stories above us.
Yes.
So yeah, they lock up and tussle all the way outside along the barrier, back into the ring, sort of thing. And I thought it was a bit of a weak-looking start for Priest because he gets a rope break from their tie-up, right? Like he basically, they start to roll back in under the ropes, and he uses the ropes to break a collar and elbow tie-up, which I thought was an interesting choice, but that's okay. We get strikes dodged and blocked by both until Priest connects with one of his. A slam and a boot by Kross, punches and a boot to Priest in the corner. We get 2 Irish whips and running clotheslines, followed by a suplex for 2 by Kross. Priest powers out of a cross submission, hits a knee and a clothesline to the outside. The steel steps are just narrowly avoided by Priest. We go back in the ring, and there's strikes to the ribs by Kross and a forearm as Priest smiles. He's sort of like, I'm taking all of this punishment. Is this the best you got? One of those sort of deals. Repeated forearms by Cross as Priest continues to taunt him. Even though Priest is taking the brunt of the offense here, he's sort of taunting Cross and saying, like, this isn't enough or this is all you got. Eventually, a kick and a right hand by Priest, punches, head clap, and a flatliner by Priest, leaping back elbow by Damian Priest, but his ribs stop him from a suplex, so it's sort of selling these ribs now, injury to the midsection.
Even though he got powerbombed, which would be his back.
Right, but he can't quite get him up for the suplex with his hurt ribs.
I guess it's like the general abdominal area, so I guess he could technically be injured back and
for sure
ribs, which is like
your ribs do go around to your back,
right? So because I have like the rib wrap for my figures, so like yeah, when I use the rib wrap, I'd also probably use like it'd be like they're hurting their back too. So I guess it's fair. Just a little weird. We get a big clothesline by Priest, followed by I put a partial broken arrow because even the announcers. Actually, Wade Barrett, I thought, did a nice job because he points out that, again, his ribs, right, are slowing him down. Yeah, so we can, like, that makes sense. I kind of didn't mind it at all. That was a nice save by Barrett, I thought. Yeah. Cross runs his shoulder into a turnbuckle when he misses Priest, and then Priest immediately targets that shoulder with strikes and holds, which, again, that makes sense. Cross gains control and goes back to punishing Priest's ribs. Strike exchange, boot exchange, springboard cannonball, question mark? I didn't know what else to call it. Yeah, it's like that weird somersault senton cannonball thing that he does. It didn't look super impactful. No, it didn't. Chris. It is a cool thing for a big man to do, I guess. We get the big guys running a bit of crisscross as they run the ropes, and eventually a big running clothesline by Cross for 2. That's one of those things in matches I always find confusing, as well as like the back body drop kick to the chest and also the It's funny you mentioned the back body drop and then getting kicked because I forget what we were just watching, and I was thinking to myself that like. If I'm a wrestling coach, like kayfabe wrestling coach, like that would be rule number. Never, ever, ever eliminate back body drop from your offense. You're never, ever going to do it. Right? Do it when like. No, do it. Nope, don't do it. When you're getting out of a move. Nope, though, like, never do it. You know, like what if you're in a power bomb? You're just gonna get kicked in the face. What if you're about to get? They're trying to do a power. Never do it. I would say only use it as a match counter. Or a move counter, sorry. All right. I would say that's the only. Cross stomps Priest's hand and leg. Then puts him in the tree of woe for more stomps, a running knee with his knee pad lowered. Both get up top now, kicked across his head, Razor's Edge by Priest for 2, which was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. Strike exchange with Cross on the apron. It was like he was struggling with his injured ribs and then got it. Yes, you're right. It was kind of cool. And again, it kind of looked... Although I hate when like they have their injured ribs and then they're lying on the ground, they're like kicking their feet on the mat like a little child. Yeah, it kind of looked like he was struggling with it, but it makes sense if he is injured, right? So a Priest gets a top... I'm sure he could probably pull it off. Like... A rope... What did I put? A rope step tope con hilo. Yes. I must have got that from you. Yes. And a spinning heel kick. I remember you asking me. And a spinning heel kick from the top. Big South of Heaven for 2. Reckoning escaped. His weird sit-out chokeslam thing for those who don't know. I actually like it. I know you don't love it, but I like when he actually did like the sit-out, like the Widowmaker, but now it's still fine. Side effect kind of finish. Yeah, I said it's like a chokeslam side effect, and side effect is whatever. I think it looks kind of cool. It's all right. Wrecking escaped into a suplex by Cross and a big release powerbomb for 2, and Priest landed pretty high on his upper back / neck. I thought that looked pretty painful. Back outside with kicks to Cross until he slams Priest into the fence and then the steps. Priest rolled back in as Cross is now smiling. Priest stands, takes a head kick, a Saito suplex, which I don't know why they always look good when Cross does it. Again, it's not a... There was like, it's a Saito suplex. It does look good, though. It does. But, like, it's always like, oh, my God, Saito suplex. It's a basic move. Yes, it looks good, but, like... He snaps it with some force. I think it looks good. Yeah, and he always gets a nice, like, kind of, like... the spin on it or whatever. Yep. And Priest usually lands good on his neck, or anyone taking it, really. And then we get a vicious forearm to the back of the head for the win? Question mark? New finisher? Blow. I would hope not. Maybe it's a pinfall finisher. I thought it looked okay. And I would like it kind of like, remember Walter does the clothesline? Yeah. I would like it as like a follow-up to something impactful like the Saito suplex. I think it was used okay here. Yeah, I wouldn't mind even if that was a transition to his finisher. Like Saito, then that, then... What was this? Oh, it was this jacket. Yeah, so I'm not a huge submission guy fan, but I don't know how I feel about this forearm. Well, I need to see him executed a few more times. I thought it looked good here. It sounded good. And it's one of those things in a real fight, it would be pretty damn effective, right? Just to run up and elbow the guy in the back of the head, I guess. Anyways, what did you think? Because that was the end of that match. I thought this was not as good of a hoss fight as our other one of the week, but it was still good. I thought the ending was like, it was interesting, but it was, like you said, realistic. Yeah. Like in a real fight that would happen. Yep. It was good. I thought Cross had some good offense, like the Saito suplex was pretty nice. And Priest did a decent job of selling the injury, but obviously this is Priest goodbye match, so
It seems that way, right? I was actually a really big fan of this match. I think a little more than you were. I thought this was two big guys that kept a really steady pace. Was it ever lightning quick? No. But did they ever take breaks or rest holds or anything? No. I thought they both got a chance to look good, although Cross clearly got a little bit more of the attention, I think. Like, it was never lightning fast, but this was a consistent, steady match with a lot of high impact moves. And I honestly really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty awesome opener for me. Full disclosure, I may have been in the mood to watch some wrestling and escape, because with all the stuff going on in the world in Washington and whatnot, I've been pretty obsessed with watching that. So maybe just taking a break. I was very receptive to watching some wrestling.
You have been watching that a lot.
I have been watching it. This is a history happening, so I've been watching a ton of it. But anyways, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a really good opener. I thought this could have been on a pay-per-view match for me. It felt like I would not be disappointed if this were on a pay-per-view. So I thought it was a really good match. Yeah, and I'm not always the biggest Damian Priest fan in the world, or Cross in terms of in-ring. I thought this was really good.
I was disappointed with the way Priest has gone, because like he was good, like decent. He had a cool entrance and theme and finisher, so I liked him. And then like he actually was like genuinely improving. So like there's a little more reason for me to like him. And then like he was doing pretty well as North American champion. Lost the title. I was like, okay, he lost the title. Interesting move, but whatever. And then he just fell out of prominence, and just they made him a little more lame, kind of like as Leon Ruff's guard. Like,
you want to hear
just made him.
My conspiracy theory is once they decided that he was going to go on main roster, they started to like plan for it and make him less good somehow. You know what I mean? Just because that's because
it's going to happen already when he goes up.
Because he has an amazing look. Like, you always knew they were going to want him on main roster. He's not my favorite NXT guy, so I won't be heartbroken if he goes. But I don't think
I'll be disappointed when they waste him, though, because he was finally getting good.
Yep. So then we get the Dusty Rhodes hype package, and it starts next week. Just a really brief little package.
And some of the teams are announced, and I already covered all of them in the news. So.
Thanks for clarifying, so people didn't think that Dusty Rhodes was going to be on next week. So then we get Adam Cole and Roderick Strong talk to Mackenzie, and Cole's basically listing their credential. Hey, at least I've got her name now. It took me like months to remember her name. List their credentials and talks about the prophecy briefly. Roddy then gets the mic and talks about Breezango, puts them over a little bit, but Undisputed Era on another level. And Cole says that O'Reilly will win tonight, sort of again.
Them putting over Breezango is like a half-baked Jon Moxley.
So this was fine, but it kind of bugs me about WWE sometimes. These guys aren't really behaving much differently than they did when they were heels.
Just like being more nice to other people.
They kind of, yeah.
And then Adam Cole's quote-unquote supporting O'Reilly.
So that's what I have. They're now faces because they openly support each other, ? Like, they kind of don't behave much differently. They're still like cocky and think they're better than everybody.
They are, but...
But anyways, it's fine. Then we get Grand Metalik versus Santos Escobar. We get a lockup and a clean break by Metalik, not by Escobar though, and Metalik has to escape. Head scissor takedown, and Escobar rolls to the outside. Metalik does a bunch of rope stuff and ends up hitting a moonsault to the outside. You know how he bounces from rope to rope. I don't want to summarize it perfectly every time.
Mm-hmm.
Back into the ring and a senton to Escobar for 2. Missed moonsault, but eventual head kick and an apron botch there, right? Remember that?
Yeah.
Escobar recovers though, and sort of, I think they had to shift on the fly. He sort of grabs Metalik and swings him into the barricade as we head into the commercial. Back from commercial, Escobar kicks Metalik in the head and sits on the top rope. Escobar drops Metalik down across the turnbuckles for 2. Surfboard submission by Escobar. We get reversals and a pin attempt by Metalik. Corner stomps by Escobar, but he runs into a boot, super kick, and a sling blade. We get the rope walk drop kick by Metalik. Springboard flip over the top to the outside by Metalik. A springboard splash back into the ring for 2.
Yeah, I've noted that like Metalik's supposed to be king of the ropes, and like when they gave him the nickname when he was in the Cruiserweight Classic, I thought it was really cool because like he was doing these really cool things, like that rope walk. The corner rope walk drop kick is still kind of cool, but like he's doing like a springboard splash and like some really basic stuff for a guy who's supposed to be like a super cruiserweight and like king of the ropes. So I was just really like, he should be doing like more advanced stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
it's funny because my next line is another medium risk move by Metalik.
Right.
met with a knee, and the best.
Also, Snoop Dogg was in a Corona beer commercial. I laughed so hard.
Yes, we kind of made it. It was funny that we had just seen Snoop on AEW, and now he's promoting things on sorry, I almost said Impact, on NXT. So yes, we get a medium risk move met by a knee and the best suicide dive in the business by Escobar, in my opinion.
Very nice.
So much speed. It's like he does not care that he's gonna hurt himself.
He nails him in the barricade perfectly.
Yep. Metalik lands hard on the apron after getting pushed off the top. Lince Dorado takes out Mendoza and Wilde just as they're about to start to interfere, and Grand Metalik hits a Frankensteiner for a near fall. Then we quickly kind of get the Legado and the Phantom Driver, and Escobar gets a clean win here.
Yeah, he kind of took Metalik off of a dive or whatever, so this was like the weakest looking Legado so far.
Yeah, the Phantom Driver's sweet, though.
The double underhook into the knee is what we're talking about.
Yes, it did look very, very soft at that point, but the Phantom Driver's cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad they
put that in. This was like about as good as I was expecting. The cruiserweight division has been quite dulled down as of late.
Yeah.
But this was pretty good. Metalik really needed to be doing some cooler stuff, in my opinion, though. So that's my only really complaint towards his offense. And
yeah.
I would say the result was never in doubt, but there was a slight chance.
Yeah, I agree.
Thought Metalik was gonna win because I just think he was the runner-up in the Cruiserweight Classic, and he's at least in terms of WWE, he's like one of the more recognizable names in the division.
Yep.
So I thought he would make a pretty good champion. So.
Well, and also
it was a good match.
My hope for the last few weeks has been that Escobar gets out of this division, right? Because it's kind of stalled. So that was where I was like, if Metalik wins, that's okay with me. Gets Escobar somewhere else.
It was good, not as good as the opener, but still fine.
I like the match actually. Metalik does a lot of fancy rope stuff to hit some medium risk moves, but again, overall, I thought this was a good competitive match. The decision was to leave the belt on Escobar. Then I'm glad he finished strong and won decisively and cleanly, right? Because we have almost zero build to this match. We almost have zero exposure to Metalik on NXT.
He's been being like these losers. Like he's been being like Jake Atlas, Whoopi, but at least he's being like a viable challenger, in my opinion.
Man, you should hear. I've talked about it before. I listened to the podcast that Matt Morgan, former TNA and WWE wrestler, and he is not a fan of Metalik. And it's not even his ability. He's just, his rant is, this guy has been booked just so poorly for so long. Like, how am I ever going to believe he's a viable contender, right? And that's kind of fair because Lucha House Party's been a joke for how long? And now he's got to try and...
Oh, yeah, they're still using Kalisto's, like, the Lucha House Party theme, even though that group is not.
Well, that was another thing when Legado make their entrance, right? I'm like, oh, what a waste, because this is such a cool theme and a nice entrance, but the group is lacking something. But anyways, I thought the match was good. I didn't have super high expectations. I enjoyed it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I hope they have some sort of new plan for this group and this division. Would be nice.
Yeah, because like the whole cruiserweight concept is, it has so much potential, and I think they just really need to use it right.
They need to figure it out. We then get Ripley and Gonzalez, just quick shots of them warming up backstage as the commentators hype their match that's coming up. And then we get the Xia Li coming up next video with her briefly training, right, just to sort of show her match is coming up. And then we get a quick little package with Mercedes Martinez where she is mostly talking about Io Shirai. The only time that she cares about the women's title, the only title she cares about is the women's title, and she calls out Io and says she's coming for her. I like this. It was quick, but it was cool attitude by Martinez and a brief, I thought, well-delivered promo. I think she's just really cool in general, and I'm glad she's back.
Yeah, she is nice. Although she ain't no Shayna Baszler.
No, and I also know that she's a bit older, right? She's been in this business forever, so it's really nice to see her get a prominent role in a major company. So I'm happy for her. I think she does a really good job. Mm-hmm. Then we get what we've been waiting for months or whatever now. We get Xia Li in the ring. She is going to face Katrina Cortez.
Oh my! She did to be really rude, but her physique was
That's not. Who cares? I have it that
just saying, she looked very jobber.
That you are going to describe the beginning of the match.
So the mysterious lady is sitting in the throne with some ominous music playing. Xia Li is sporting a headdress and Bo is wearing a suit. New theme, and then Xia Li does a more intense version of that martial arts routine.
Yep.
And mysterious lady person remains on entrance stage throughout the match. I just wrote Cortez looks awful.
And part of that routine, Xia Li was doing some sort of routine with knives, right?
She's not only Cortez had weird ring gear, just like. And, like, the mask, she just did not look great. Not even that it's completely her fault. Just even her ring gear was.
I thought it was okay, actually. I kind of liked it. Just because it's different, I guess. I don't know.
I guess.
I'm okay with it. So we get Zaya kicks Cortez. Then she sort of turns and bows to the throne as whoever the woman is still sitting there. And then some more kicks. We get one strike by the babyface and then a jumping knee and a massive jumping kick to the head by Lee for the win.
Yeah,
so,
the tornado kick, it looked amazing.
It did. A complete squash, obviously. I thought this was a strong reintroduction, and this is exactly how her matches have to go for a while, in my opinion.
I don't even mind another jobber match next week.
No, I think she needs a string of them.
That tornado kick, if she can keep hitting it like that, that's a fine finisher.
And actually not hurting people.
It looked
right?
good. Yeah, like if she just, as long as she hits it as good as that one, that will be her finisher.
Her finishing kick looked vicious, was my next point, and her new look and presentation, for me at least, were cool. Other than maybe I thought the knife routine was a bit much. I don't think we're going to need that every time.
Maybe just like a little trimmed down, I would say.
But now the next thing I'm looking forward to is what's going to happen with Boa, right? I want to see what they're going to do with him. But I thought this was what they needed. She needs to just kill people for a little bit, for a few weeks, in my opinion, before they start with even somebody who's kind of a regular on the roster that she still needs to kill, like Aaliyah. Or something.
Yes,
exactly.
I was thinking
Aaliyah is our gatekeeper,
Sorry,
right?
Aaliyah. You are
Canadian girl.
But
so
suck.
I thought this was enjoyable as well.
Yes.
Then we get Regal. He is conferred with medical staff, and Thatcher has hurt himself training for Fight Pit.
This is kayfabe.
The match with Ciampa will be postponed. Yes, Jack told me ahead of time.
I did tell you that. Apparently they just want to postpone it for another time, which I don't think that makes sense because this is your TV special.
And you were very excited about Fight Pit.
I didn't actually watch the first one because
I kind of liked it.
That was when I wasn't really interested in NXT because it was mostly bad. But I did watch clips. I thought it looked cool. I watched the clip that they put out. So I really wanted to see this, and I think it would make more sense to have it here. This is your TV special.
Right.
So I really don't understand why they would want to move it. But
this turned out to be a pretty full show that I really liked, so
I guess
they can save it for somewhere else, I guess.
I would have much rather them move something else, though.
Fair enough.
I did really want to see this.
Bronson Reed speaks to Mackenzie. NXT will see his inner savage in 2021, and he's putting the roster on notice.
Oh my god. He gets so many stupid things. Thick Boy and now inner savage?
Well, I don't think there's Thick Boy gross. Didn't stick, right? He puts his money on Rhea Ripley in the match tonight.
Is that all this is for, him betting on the match? Honestly,
I honestly think they're looking for ways to get him experience talking, because my note was this is not his strength, right? I don't think he did a great job here, but he needs to keep getting experience, and the only way you're going to get better is by giving him the mic. And if this is just a tiny little promo, fine, right? But I don't think I don't love his delivery so far, but that's what he's here to learn, right? So
I guess so.
I'm still hopeful. Then we do get, I guess this would qualify probably as a Haas fight as well, right? We get Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez. And I was, even though we have seen this recently, I was still excited to see it again.
It's a fresh stipulation for them, at least.
Agree. So we get a drop kick by Ripley immediately, a corner assault and a Thez press by Ripley. Now they're brawling on the mat, eventually a big clothesline and 3 fall-away slams by Gonzalez that I thought looked pretty impressive. That's a big person you are picking up and throwing repeatedly, right? Kicks and taunts by Gonzalez before a right hand kick, a leg sweep, and a diving drop kick. This woman continues to impress me, I'm not going to lie. Outside, and Gonzalez is driven into the apron. Kendo stick attack to Gonzalez until a forearm and a chair to a diving Ripley's legs. I think she was diving for a drop kick, and she got hit in the legs with the chair, if I remember correctly. Ripley gets thrown into the barricade, and she gets a kendo stick and returns the favor. Gonzalez is driven into the fence, and Ripley uses the handcuffs. Gonzalez sort of introduced into the match, and she handcuffs Gonzalez to the fence at ringside.
Yeah, the chain link over the
barricade or the boards or whatever.
The plexiglass,
right.
That's what it was.
We get chops to the handcuffed Gonzalez, who then kicks Ripley and rips the handcuffs out of the fence. I thought that looked kind of cool, the classic monster spot.
That's about as, that makes sense as much as breaking the top of an elimination chamber pod with a table.
It makes for a quick little visual or gif that they can put out there, though, right?
Yeah, I guess. But
that's what it's all about now.
It's one of those ridiculous WWE things. Oh, she's strong. She can break things.
Maybe she can. I don't know. Maybe they were real. Maybe they weren't even gimmicked cuffs. She just... no.
Maybe it wasn't even gimmick chain. Because the cuffs didn't break. I think it was the chain.
Just the chain snapped. So Gonzalez beats Riley with the cuffs before being... before being driven into the ring post. Ripley hits her head on the ring bell and makes a really nice ding, we noticed, right?
Yeah, and I'm like, right, because a human head would make the same sound as a little metal hammer.
Maybe she's got a steel plate in her head, you know? Like Cousin Eddie.
Like kicking it.
She hits her head on the ring bell and Gonzalez clears off the announce table. We then get a backdrop onto the edge of the table.
God.
Looked really
Ripley
painful.
hit the edge of the table and then it collapsed and then she fell. Yeah, you pointed this out to me and then I rewinded. I just thought that looked brutal.
So she clearly didn't get flipped as far as she was supposed to, but it ended up looking awesome, right? Like, I'm sure it didn't feel good for Rhea Ripley, but it
at least looked.
It really looked painful.
Probably looked cooler than they were planning.
Then we get the now classic furniture pile on top of the big competitor because it's the only way to keep them down. But,
right, and like, because the stuff is so heavy.
Well, and it works every time, right? They never escape. Oh, wait, she escapes, and Gonzalez throws her back in.
The only time I remember it working is TLC 2012, Shield versus Ryback and Team Hell No. They buried Kane, and that was towards the end, and he was just
Ryback
out of the rest of the match. But again, that was not a last man standing match, and also towards the end of a match.
We're back from commercial, and Gonzalez
I remember that.
Runs Ripley over with the steps on the ramp. I thought looked pretty good. We get a big boot to Ripley on the stage, and she rolls off. Gonzalez follows for more of a beatdown to Ripley backstage until she eventually fights out of it and spears Gonzalez through a partially glass door, and it shatters, which looked pretty good too, down a narrow hallway. Ripley
Weird, sorry. Like, because they broke the glass, but then the door still open.
Yep.
Wouldn't they just either the door would open on impact, or they would just go through the glass, not both?
Well, the glass was sort of like part of the door, right? There was wood and stuff around it.
I guess.
I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, it was fine.
Ripley then beats down Gonzalez and runs her into many things backstage because I didn't want to keep listing all of these basic brawling moves backstage. Gonzalez is then laid on a table, and Ripley climbs onto lockers and hits a pretty cool looking senton through Gonzalez.
She does the crotch chop, even though that does not make sense for a woman to do.
Well, we won't get into it, but she can do what she wants. Through this table and through Gonzalez, I thought that looked really nice. These women just worked really hard, right? They were not worrying about hurting themselves at all, I don't think, here. The ref counts, and Ripley is up and gets viciously attacked by a running in Dakota Kai with a kendo stick. Yes. Ripley fights both of them off for a little bit and slams locker doors on Dakota Kai, and they're like those half lockers. And then because Kai is such a small woman, shoves her into one of the lockers, closes the door, and blocks it to trap her in with some sort of like equipment box or whatever. Yeah. We get a chair shot by Gonzalez, and then the two are now battling back on the stage. We get a prism trap applied by Ripley, and then she hooks a chair over Gonzalez's neck for a cool visual.
It's like that standing inverted clover leaf.
Yeah. And then hooks the chair over her neck, kind of looked cool. Gonzalez powers out and pushes Ripley into some equipment along the side, like lighting equipment or whatever. Ripley then sort of, our best guess was a DVD.
Oh my god, yeah.
Into the giant X.
And so this happens a lot when like they go into the stage and then starts glitching out.
Yep.
But usually it looks good. Like, I remember Royal Rumble 2019 for some reason, Sasha Banks and Ronda Rousey into the ring post, and then like part of it starts glitching. It actually looks like it's glitching, but this is like green glitches, and then like the Tron still, like, it just looked like really, this one looked clearly planned.
We are different people in some ways because I did not even notice any of that, but I will take your word for it. She heads to the steel steps, but Gonzalez takes her legs out and Ripley lands face first on the steps. We get right away now, just the one-armed powerbomb through the stage by Gonzalez, and the ref starts counting. Gonzalez emerges from the wreckage and gets to her feet at 9 for the win.
Hell yeah.
Thoughts?
This was a good match. They really beat the crap out of each other.
Did.
There were many good spots here. And Kai fitting in the locker amazes me very much.
Yeah, it was cool.
But the right outcome, in my opinion. Great win for Gonzalez.
Agree. Another really good match here. I thought these women, I had the same words, beat the hell out of each other and put on a heck of a match. To nitpick, there was a lot of kendo sticks, but I really enjoyed this match. Both of these women are huge stars if handled correctly. I'm actually starting to feel like Gonzalez's ceiling might be even higher than Ripley's at this point, but you can't go wrong with either of them. They should be in this industry for a long time, in a really consequential role, because I think they're both really good. I can't believe, I don't know how long Gonzalez has been wrestling or whatever, but she, I think, is fantastic.
I remember when she just used to be a jobber.
This was a pay-per-view quality match, in my opinion, and these women did a fantastic job. Loved it.
Yep.
The Way have a police escort to the building as Johnny waves the title from a convertible like he's in a parade, yet the streets are completely empty and it's dark. So I thought this was pretty funny, right? Like he's acting like
well, they both are.
The streets are just lined with their adoring fans, and he's holding up and waving the title like it's a parade, and like it's just an empty street and it's dark. So I thought that was amusing. So then it continues, and they make their way to the ring, and Jack is dancing because of the Gargano theme song right now.
Yeah,
I noticed.
I've been listening to Johnny Gargano's theme like a lot, and it's really good.
Beth calls them a dysfunctional family, and I picked up on this because I feel that we may start hearing this a lot. I feel like this
and of course it had to be Beth Phoenix.
I feel like this is going to be the thing they beat us over the head with. They're like a dysfunctional family. This dysfunctional.
Except they get along.
I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like that's going to be part of the packaging.
I think you're right.
So I put like, I feel like we're going to start hearing that a lot, just in case we don't notice for ourselves, right? Like, hey fans, you might not be smart enough to get what we're doing, so let us tell you 60 times. Anyways, Johnny speaks and he rips the crowd and talks about the Cleveland Browns, reversing the curse like they did. Candace suggests that Johnny might be the most powerful man that exists, and she presents him with a curse memorial plaque, and he loves it. Theory speaks and calls Johnny a superhero who gives and never gets anything in return. Indy says like one tiny thing I didn't jot down, and then they unveil a comic, sort of like a comic poster version of the four of them as superheroes.
Like something Loomis would draw.
Right?
Except it's colored.
Johnny announces that he and Theory are entering the Dusty Rhodes Classic, which I think is cool, and that's an interesting pairing for me. Shotzi comes out in her tank, howls, calls out Candace. Theory advances up the ramp and gets shot in the groin by whatever comes out of the tank cannon.
Nate found that really funny.
Yeah, he laughed pretty hard, our 10-year-old lad in the house. Shotzi attacks Candace, and the heels retreat as Kushida now comes out to join Shotzi. Loomis grabs the ring bell and rings it to indicate a match has been made because he doesn't speak, so they had to find quote-unquote clever ways for him to contribute as the host of the show, and that's what that was.
And then we get...
So what did you think of this little bit?
It was fine, the end bit sucked, but the beginning was good.
Fair enough. I'm always glad to see Johnny out there. I thought the police escort was my favorite part of this, to be honest. Funny. The rest was okay. So we do get your dream tag team, Shotzi Blackheart and Kushida versus Candace and Johnny Gargano.
The only worse team, and I've said this already to you, but the only worse team than Kushida and Shotzi Blackheart I could think of is Eva Marie and Enzo Amore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
and I do not want to see this at all.
The
Garganos are literally in street attire, sorry.
I'm more open to this, obviously, as I tend to be the optimist of this partnership. Shotzi gets control of Candace with an enziguri and a senton to Candace in the ropes. Candace rolls out, and we go to commercial. Back from commercial, and Shotzi tries to escape Candace, who has a hold of her arm. Loomis, sitting at commentary wearing a headset, made me laugh, too, because like the guy that doesn't speak has been given a microphone, so I thought that was kind of cool. Shotzi escapes and a hot tag to Kushida, who dominates Gargano with kicks. Counters in a forearm by Gargano, but an arm drag into the hoverboard. Multiple reversals until a rope break by Gargano. Armbar and a slam. I don't know what to call it. It's where he gets the armbar and just slams him down to the canvas. Lots of work.
Armbar bulldog.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty close. Lots of work to Johnny's left arm at this point. We get a strike exchange, and Candace...
A lot of arm working, because didn't Priest work across his arm?
Yes.
And then O'Reilly does that to Balor later. Sorry to spoil.
That's okay.
And then there's this, so that's kind of weird.
It's arm day.
And left arm, too. Or I think for a cross. I don't know.
Candace steps in front to stop Kushida's attack at one point. Johnny almost hits Candace and then ends up, as he's sort of celebrating that he did not, the relief, he takes a shot from Kushida. Assisted blockbuster by Shotzi, using Kushida and Asterio arm breakers by the faces. Reckless dive by Shotzi after a handspring elbow to knock Gargano off the... I thought the woman broke her collarbone or something. It didn't look like she landed in a way that she would not hurt herself.
I kind of chuckled.
But this is kind of Shotzi, right? And this is that Jeff Hardy comparison. She's willing to do anything, but sometimes it's not the cleanest.
Yeah, except Jeff Hardy has had good periods in his career.
I guess.
And has done something good for the world of pro wrestling.
I guess. Hartwell and Theory interfere, but Kushida takes out Theory and rolls up Johnny for the win. Your thoughts before I give mine?
It's very hard for me to get interested in anything involving Kushida because he's very boring. They've not done anything interesting with him, and they have not made me care about his matches, and the hype has really not proven itself to me. And Shotzi Blackheart, we all know how I feel about Shotzi Blackheart, so this match had little chance of impressing me.
I thought it was a decent mixed gender tag. There was some.
It was fine. I never do enjoy these matches though.
There was some sloppiness by Shotzi and not a great match, but not terrible either. I feel the Gargano rub is going to help these younger two, especially Austin Theory, right? My fear was it's going to pull Gargano down instead of elevating them, but I think it might be okay. And I think Theory, say what you will about him as a person, I'm not sure how I feel. I think as a wrestler, he's fine, and I think working with Gargano is going to help him probably.
Yeah.
He and Gargano actually, I think, will make a pretty cool tag team with that combination of power and speed, right? And also youth and experience. I kind of like the idea. Indy really didn't do much here, but I thought this was an okay match. I agree.
I can't wait to see Theory do that weird flatliner thingy again.
Intergender tags are not my favorite thing because...
Especially when it's Kushida and Shotzi.
It just eliminates a whole lot of tag team psychology for me, right? Because you can't isolate...
It's like you're combining two singles matches into one match at the same time.
Well, and look at how many tag team matches, right? Part of the story is the heels isolate the babyface and frequently tag in and out. Well, that whole trope is gone, right? That's eliminated. You can't do that.
Right.
So it's not my favorite type of match either, but I thought this one was pretty inoffensive. It was fine. I know you feel differently.
Least favorite match of the night, but
that's
to
fair.
Be fair,
I think that's fair.
Not only did I not like this, but the other matches were pretty good.
And then they tell us that we're going to get a takeover on Valentine's Day with a little bit of a hype package for that, right?
But we have no name yet.
No, it just was letting us know the date, so we'll see. Then we get a quick shot of O'Reilly and Balor getting ready for their match as we head into commercial. Regal then talks to Mackenzie and says 2021 will be great. Next week, the Dusty Classic starts, and he announces the first ever Dusty Rhodes Women's Tag Tournament, which you, again, are not looking forward to, and I am.
Not that I'm not looking forward to. I think there's potential, but I just don't think, like, the upper echelons of their division are really good. Gonzalez, Kai, LeRae, Shirai,
but I don't think they're going to
Martinez.
stick any of them in a tag team.
Right, and I don't think the rest of the roster is strong enough to sustain a decent tournament. And there's no... And are they going to challenge for the women's tag titles that they win, I guess?
Probably. That would make sense. They are very coveted.
You could do LeRae and... But this is actually...
LeRae and Indy Hartwell.
I actually want this is a way they can bring in the tag titles here. And Kai and Gonzalez they could do, actually. Right. So there's a couple teams that would be good. Unfortunately, they're both heel. But, like...
Well, and then they do the classic pair a couple together. We got to have a reluctant team.
Oh my god, imagine how happy... I would be so happy if Kai and Gonzalez just beat Asuka and Charlotte Flair. I would be so happy.
Me too.
I'd be so happy.
But I don't know if they want Gonzalez. Like I feel like that's like a baby step back for her, and I'm not sure they'll do it, right? I don't know.
I think it could be decent.
I like tag teams. I love the women's division in NXT, so I am on board for this, and we'll see where it goes, I guess.
Yep.
All right, so we get a main event now with no commercial breaks, as we're told, and it is the rematch of my match of the year, right, for NXT. Yours as well, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And it is Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor. And I know we just saw this match, but I don't care is my first note, because I would watch these two guys wrestle pretty much any time. So, of course, we get holds, escapes, and counters to start. We get a shoulder tackle, and Balor checks on his jaw. I like that little callback already, right? Like, the jaw comes into play a fair amount in this match. It's part of the story of this match. We get more holds and counters and targets of Finn's jaw with a kick and just misses. So it's O'Reilly kind of in the beginning. It's this whole, I told you I'm willing to do anything to win. And if that means kick you in a jaw that you just got repaired with metal parts in it, I don't care, right? So I kind of like that he's early on trying to kick him in the jaw. I like that. Because the baby face is willing to do whatever it takes now.
Yep.
Balor's in control on the mat until O'Reilly traps Balor's head between his knees. O'Reilly escapes another high kick attempted. So again, trying to kick Balor in the jaw. O'Reilly gets control of Balor's left arm and works it with numerous holds and moves. Balor counters with an abdominal stretch for a second before it's countered with an armbar as Balor fights to keep his hands clasped to block it. Abdominal stretch in solidly now until O'Reilly bites the ropes for a break. And then as he is biting the ropes, Finn Balor kicks the ropes as hard as he can. And so the medical...
This lines up a jaw injury for
right.
O'Reilly
It's sort of that receipt, right? The wrestling receipt for the broken jaw, and the medical staff, not for real, but they check on O'Reilly as part of the story. So now it's sort of reversed, right? He's got the injured jaw. He's been targeting Balor's jaw, but Balor actually hurt O'Reilly's jaw.
Yep.
Snapmare and a headlock by Balor now. Balor ducks for a backdrop here. Oh, this is where it was. But O'Reilly grabs his arm and pulls him to the mat. This is where I was like, no backdrops ever. Remove it from your arsenal. Diving knee to Balor's injured arm, and O'Reilly uses the ropes to attack the arm further, but Balor gains the advantage and stretches O'Reilly backwards in the ropes. Not my best description ever, but it was a lot to sort of describe. So he's just kind of using the ropes to add leverage to some sort of submission as best he can. Belly to back suplex and a crossface by Balor until O'Reilly gets to the ropes. Chops in the corner by Balor, then a running back elbow for 2. O'Reilly continues to hold his jaw, selling that injury. Kick to Balor's legs and a running knee to the midsection. We get some clinch knees, a leg sweep, and Balor is now down. Balor slammed and tripped face first for a 2 count. Balor attacks O'Reilly's jaw to break whatever hold he's in at the time. We get a Pele kick by Balor, but a roll through and a heel hook by O'Reilly. Running kick to Balor, and O'Reilly's momentum carries him outside, ? It looked a little awkward to me.
He did a penalty kick and then just
kept running out of the ring, and I rewound it to look as well, and it was
even more confusing.
Yeah, it didn't get any better, so not the best little spot there. O'Reilly beats the count.
Maybe a bit of O'Reilly in-ring comedian, though. Maybe.
O'Reilly beats the count and goes back to Balor's arm. We get a guillotine transitioned into a triangle by O'Reilly, then transitioned into a heel hook, which I thought was a nice little combination. Jaw shot by Balor to break it. So again, he's going to go back to that jaw to break the hold if he needs to. Forearms to the back of a grounded O'Reilly's head, 1916 by Balor, immediately into a crossface. A strike exchange and O'Reilly kicks, but catches a sling blade and a double stomp to the chest. Shotgun kick sends O'Reilly flying into the corner. Balor up top setting up for the coup de grace, but O'Reilly kicks the ropes and hits a superplex for 2. Brainbuster by O'Reilly for 2, and he tries again for the right arm and gets it. Balor rolls to the ropes, and now he is bleeding. So I'm not sure where the blood came from, but his face is now bloody.
I know, I was really confused as well.
We get a callback to the previous match as well with a stiff kick to O'Reilly's midsection, and he starts selling it like their first match.
It was in the corner, right? And Balor was in the corner, and then O'Reilly was kind of walking back, really selling, and kept looking back.
Right.
He looked really in pain. It was really good selling.
Yeah, really good selling. And then what also makes sense is Balor immediately applies an abdominal stretch, right? So he sort of you've shown that your midsection's hurting. Let's keep attacking it.
Right, the previous match injury.
Right.
Really good, keeping the things from the previous match, which they actually did good here.
We get a transition into a stretch submission of some kind. I didn't know it's where both of his arms are basically being pulled behind his back, and O'Reilly has to... Was
it the one on the ground? Yeah, it's a grounded abdominal stretch.
And O'Reilly taps out.
Yeah, he had him in the grounded version of an abdominal stretch, and then to get O'Reilly to tap, he pulled on the jaw. And then pulled on his head with his jaw, and that's what made O'Reilly tap.
So Undisputed Era come to check on O'Reilly as he holds his jaw and shakes his head in disappointment. I thought the look he was giving too, the look of disbelief. Oh my god, I just lost again.
Or he's just
where do I go from here?
So disappointed, right?
I thought he did a really good job of selling that disappointment. Your thoughts, sir?
This was obviously, this is not as good as the first one. For
sure.
That is obvious. But this was about as good as they could have done with the TV time slots. And I loved Balor's final submission. The abdominal stretch, 1, it calls back to the rib injury, right? And
it does.
Clever. And then 2, what made O'Reilly tap was him pulling on the jaw, which is injuring this match. Balor being really smart, targeting O'Reilly's 2 biggest injuries, and that's how he won. I think that was really smart. Not even using either of his finishers, but using what was smart. And
the midsection had been injured again in this match too, right? So it was
with that kick. So I thought Balor's ending tactic, it was really smart and just it made sense.
And I think that Balor not winning with his finisher makes O'Reilly look a bit stronger too.
Right,
it's one of those I have to beat you with what I can beat you with at the time. I can't set up and do my my
or something
flashy
that's really
finishing
going
move.
To put you in pain.
So I thought this was a really good match too, with a couple again subtle references to their previous match, right? The jaw shots for both of them, the midsection kick, like you were saying, all of that stuff.
Yeah, there's callbacks to the old injuries in Balor's jaw and O'Reilly's gut, but then there's also the new injuries with O'Reilly's jaw and Balor's arm.
Right. So it's clearly not on the level of the first one, as you said, but a really good TV main event nonetheless, I have to say. Thoughts on the show? Or sorry.
I think the only one of the TV main events that's been better though is just in NXT was the ladder match with Dunn and O'Reilly. I think that was probably better, but this is still really good.
Yep, a very good main event. Show thoughts?
Probably an NXT match of the year. It was pretty good. The opener was it was good. I think you definitely liked it more, but I did. It was still good, no doubt about it. I'm just going through there. The Dusty Classic is shaping up to be pretty good, so I'm excited for that.
Yep.
Cruiserweight title match was pretty good, but could have used some more high-risk offense. Xia Li looked amazing in her return. No complaints there.
Yep.
Last Woman Standing was exactly what it should have been. Right result, as was the other Haas fight on AEW. Right result. Next tag match sucked. Didn't like it. Main event was good.
So I liked this show a bit more than you did. What was your letter grade, though?
Oh, I'd probably give it like a B+, just under Dynamite in my opinion.
Okay. So this show was definitely felt in-ring heavy to me, like lots of wrestling and less other stuff.
Which I think is playing to their strengths.
But the matches were generally really good, and I found this show flew by as well. A really good opener, without too much story behind it, right? It's kind of a quick build.
I was just thinking that I'm really mad that they got rid of the fight pit now, because they could have taken out that mixed tag match. That was not necessary.
A good cruiserweight match that just needed any kind of story behind it as well.
Yeah.
A really good women's match and a solid main event. And I was saying, like, this to me kind of highlights what NXT is much of the time. Excellent in-ring and almost on par with AEW in-ring at times. But, like, light years...
Storytelling is where they kind of fall behind.
Kind of light years behind at times in interesting, subtle, like, intelligent, long-term storytelling where you sort of trust that your audience has a brain. So it's most likely the scripting of the NXT wrestlers versus the freedom that the AEW talent have, right? Like where they're sort of involved in the process and they're not heavily scripted and they sort of have some leeway into what they say and how they perform.
Right.
And I think that trust in the talent really shows through. But I can deal with the show of, like, I'm a guy that if you just pack a show with awesome wrestling matches, like going to an indie show, right? I don't know the storyline behind any of this, but if you just pack the show with awesome in-ring action, I'm gonna go away happy.
Right. I think my two main complaints for the show were the mixed tag match and then not having fight pit.
Right. So I thought this was an awesome show, and I actually gave it a higher rating slightly than AEW this week. So I gave this a straight up A. Really enjoyed myself. Thought this Wednesday night of wrestling was awesome. And again,
Friday night because of stupid network.
Maybe I was just in the mood to escape the reality of our existence to some degree, and was really in. But I love this week of Wednesday Night War, and I gave this show an A, and Dynamite was an A-. So a great week of wrestling as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree.
At least Wednesday with these two shows.
Yeah, Wednesday night was really. Monday Night Raw sucked. Like sucked hard. I don't know much about SmackDown. I'll talk about that a little bit actually later. But yeah, Wednesday night really did deliver this week, and I think it was great.
Awesome. Well, that will we'll transition into our next segment, which is where we talk about non-Wednesday night related wrestling stuff that we want to talk about, and that is our Any Other Wrestling Business.
Alright, so I'll do my Monday Night Raw stuff, then you review one of your shows, and then I'll cover my SmackDown stuff, and then you do your other show.
Yes, my son made me watch some Raw this week,
yes,
which
I've
forgiven you for, but it took a while.
Yeah, it's just like, since we have nothing better to do, why don't we...
No, you fell for Legends Night. Let's be real.
No,
you got
it's because
we
had nothing to do.
Let's
I didn't get
Legends.
Sucked in. How dare you?
Anyways, talk about whatever you're talking about.
So I actually watched some Monday Night Raw and instantly regretted it. The opening segment was Miz TV with special guest The New Day. One of the stupid parts is The New Day claiming they are rebranding Miz TV into New Day Talks.
Yes.
And it was just pointless. They were like, oh, we're going to rebrand your show and whatever.
It was awful. I watched it
with New Day are still good in-ring, but given WWE is uber PG, even an act like The New Day, who were like PG to begin with, have been dulled down and given stupid scripts and storylines that they are so boring and are annoying at times. This of course got heated, and then out comes Teddy Long. He initially tries to make Miz and Morrison face off with The Undertaker, but Adam Pearce, good old Adam Pearce, has to come out to remind him that The Undertaker is inactive and is supposedly retired. Ha ha ha, comedy. And also, I forgot to mention the thing that happened last week where Miz got his Money in the Bank contract last week because technically John Morrison was the one who cashed in.
Right.
But this makes no sense. One, Morrison wouldn't do it without Miz's consent because they're like best friends, so figure it out, WWE. And two, it was still technically cashed in because Miz participated in the title match, right? So it should still count because he tried to get the title.
Yep.
So anyways, Teddy then does the most predictable thing ever and does the other thing he's known for, which is a tag match, which is the next match. This match was beyond mediocre, which is a shame given these two teams are quite talented given if they wrestle a decent style, but that's my point. The main roster style is near impossible to achieve a good match or a match that you're candidate with.
Especially if you spend a lot of time closely looking at AEW,
right? And like with AEW and NXT beating them out in North America alone, NJPW also pumps out matches that you're candidates with ease.
Yep.
Right, and my point is that even with 4 talented guys like this, you can't have a good match. It was so mediocre and formulaic, bored me very much. Dumb.
Well, the opening before the match even started.
It was awful.
And remember, I turned to Jack and I said, listen, if I'm ever overly critical of an opening match in AEW, remind me of this moment, right? If I'm ever like some pretty fun tag team match to open a Dynamite and I'm like, well, just be like, remember when we watched I'll be like, oh yeah, it was amazing. This match was amazing. Because this is what I'm saying, like, whatever, 15 minutes of not entertaining. I don't know who this is for. Like
children.
I guess young children, because this was painful for me to watch.
Yes.
So
Charlotte yells at Ric Flair again after Ric accidentally cost her a match. Hello, 2016 repeat.
Yeah.
Whatever. Lacey Evans is also flirting with Ric Flair, because that's not weird at all.
Yeah.
Randy Orton does some dumb things like threatening and taunting Big Show and Ric Flair because of the previous attacks last year, and a dumb promo to further the Alexa Bliss and the Fiend. Oh, I should have set her on fire. I hate myself for not doing it.
And did you see all of the stars that they promoted that were legends that were going to be there that were not there?
Michelle. Yeah, but apparently that was just false promoting, and there's no like heat or anything. So.
Well, other than you're lying about who's going to be on stuff.
Well, because they did it before they
before they contacted them.
And poor Angel Garza seems to be a 24/7 division guy now. I am very disappointed.
Another guy like he just had a cup of coffee in NXT really, and he was awesome.
Kind of like, dare I say, Apollo Crews, where he was in NXT
nowhere near long enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I think he should have been Cruiserweight champion longer. I think.
And the potential on that guy.
Imagine if Angel Garza was still in the Cruiserweight division now. I think he would genuinely have helped the division out a ton.
Absolutely. And if you really have to pair him with Andrade, fine. They could be an amazing tag team.
But nope, that's screwed too.
Nope,
and Zelina Vega's gone.
Right.
And finally, Drew McIntyre retains the WWE Championship against Keith Lee. And then afterwards...
I didn't hear anything about that match. Was it good?
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't heard yet.
Afterwards, somebody challenges McIntyre to a title match at Royal Rumble, and it's Goldberg. Are you kidding me?
Okay, don't yell too much. I don't want to have to fix it all in post or move away from the mic.
He is 54 years old. This man should be retired, as should Sting. In the past 5 years, Goldberg has had a match in 4 of those years, excluding 2018 only. In those matches, he has won 2 more world titles. Not only is that awful and ridiculous in of itself, but he's also beaten 2 guys, in my opinion, who should have kept the title. Kevin Owens and The Fiend. Drew McIntyre had a pretty good first reign. He shouldn't have lost it to Randy Orton, but at least he's going strong again. Drew needs to win here. He has had a decent reign, but there's been way too much empty arena in Randy Orton matches, so I think he needs to face more quality guys like Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley like he did. I was worried Goldberg would face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, but even better, I get to see him sooner in a match equally as unnecessary. This is so stupid. Go away, Goldberg. This is the opposite of what I need on a show that already sucks with an old geezer in the main event. So stupid. Also, when I was researching news, I found out this was flung together very recently, so great. I hate WWE so much.
54 is a geezer. That's what I took out of that. So I got a few years left. I got a decade and a bit left.
For a wrestler. For a wrestler, at least.
The problem is the guy gets ratings, right? So
I know. It's just so stupid.
And the thing you have to understand about wrestling, people are going to watch it no matter. Like when you decided we were done watching Raw, like main Raw, I couldn't believe it. I thought, because most dedicated wrestling fans, it's just like, I don't know, it's like Stockholm Syndrome where you start to like just fall in love with your kidnapper because you're around them so long and you just watch it forever even though it's terrible. And that's what wrestling fans generally do, because Vince knows the people that love it are going to watch it anyways. So who can I pull that might have some mainstream appeal?
And I do like pro wrestling, just WWE has partially ruined some pro wrestling for me.
As you grow and mature, right, and I finally got you to watch some stuff that isn't main roster, and you start to look at it and go, this doesn't compare. Why am I watching wrestling I don't really enjoy week to week when there's enough wrestling that I could enjoy, you know?
Right.
Yeah, definitely we gave it a bit of a try, like most of the first hour, and it was not good.
The last bit, and I don't want to. Like, Goldberg in 2021, people. This is not okay.
I was just listening to John and Wei review Raw before we sat down, so I haven't quite finished.
Poor
I'll be
guys.
interested. Well, I just want to hear what they say about the Keith Lee match to see if he at least got a good showing. I'm hoping.
Goldberg.
Yep.
Like,
not thrilled either, believe me. All right, should I talk about Ring of Honor a bit?
Yeah, I need a break.
Y'all got all fired up there?
Because I'm going to rant again later, so just...
So Ring of Honor, the show starts with some show highlights and commentary from Final Battle. Quinn McKay welcomes us and wishes us a Happy New Year.
Hand gestures?
Of course. The show will highlight ROH during the pandemic, and my review may stop here because this is not looking like there'll be any new content. Nope. They're airing never-before-seen matches, so I guess I'll stick around. But
that's what they were doing that made us not watch it, isn't it? Is it not?
Yeah, so what I think it is these were matches that they filmed when they found out that everything was going to be shut down and a few people were still willing to do matches, and these are the ones I think that they're televising, right?
I guess, but like, I guess at least it's never before seen matches, but still, This is like more or less what they were doing that made us not want to watch it.
It is, because these aren't part of any active storyline or anything. They're just like, here it is, go, sort of thing, right?
At least they're not old matches. At least they are new.
Right. So Taven reflects on coronavirus and recaps his feeling about it as the virus started to get serious.
As if anyone's going to have new opinions on it. Oh, it's so great.
And I put this, do they realize that this pandemic is still happening? Because this felt like a pandemic retrospective, like, oh, remember when we went through this? It's still, we're in the midst of it now.
Maybe do that in like 2022.
It's almost like they thought it would be over by now and they have this ready to go and they're just like, put it out anyways. So anyways, it honestly feels like remember when we were in the pandemic and we had to do all this? And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember because I'm still locked in my house every day. But anyways.
Doing school on a computer screen.
Flip Gordon reflects and talks about wrestling in an empty arena. He implies that Flip Gordon, I'm sorry, Flip Gordon. I'm out on you, bud. He implies that other wrestlers were less professional than him for not volunteering to wrestle as things were getting bad. So because other people took more serious safety precautions and sort of valued science and medicine more than him.
More professional because they're taking the time off so that like when everything's okay, they'll be able to wrestle. So.
The more I learn about Flip Gordon, the less I am impressed. He talks about here's another point. He talks about wearing a giant mask around to basically make a mockery of a serious health pandemic, right? Like, oh, we need to wear a mask everywhere. I'm going to wear a giant over-exaggerated gas mask because I'm cool. Because he didn't believe it was as bad as people said. What a cool guy. This is why I'm out on this guy. Mock and criticize others for trying to stay safe, minimize the work and advice of science and medicine, be a seemingly immature, selfish jerk. Maybe he could turn into a heel and I would appreciate it.
Does it remind you of some certain political old person?
Maybe. So we get Flip Gordon versus Bandito, and this is recorded again before
I only remember Bandito from All In.
They recorded before it was fully shut down, but they never aired it, so this is the first time. And honestly, this was a fast-paced match, and both of them looked really good. I thought Bandito looked awesome, and I will watch more Bandito.
I've heard some good things about him.
I've seen a few of his matches. He is really talented.
The only one I've seen was him, Mysterio, and I think Phoenix versus Golden Elite, which was Ibushi and the Bucks. I remember that was the main event of All In.
Yep, that's right. So Flip wins a really good match with his TKO style finisher that I thought was cool, and I thought Bandito looked awesome. I haven't seen too much of him before, but he's a talent, no doubt about it. Then we get Cheeseburger, Beer City Brawler, and a female wrestler from Ireland whose name I missed. I think it was Sashima Martina, maybe?
Cheeseburger's like their Leon Ruff.
Yes, and I've never heard of her before. She talks about ROH shutting down for Corona again. This seems odd because we are still living through this now.
It's like people wake up call.
We then get Mark Haskins with his wife Vicky, who I didn't know was a thing, versus Jay Lethal. And man, does Mark Haskins ever have a different look from many years ago.
Vicky in the match?
No, she's just with him. Another pretty fun and fast match here where Haskins wins for the first time against Jay Lethal when Lethal taps to the sharpshooter. So that was the story. He's never beaten Lethal before, and he finally does. I don't remember this. A woman I don't recognize who is not named talks about most of the roster partying in Las Vegas together once the tapings were canceled, and we see photos of them in massive crowds partying. And I thought this was an odd choice to include this information.
Why would you tell us that they are openly disregarding the lockdown?
I think at that point they weren't I don't think this was the point where everything was locked down and whatever. It still just seems an odd choice. Like I don't think they were
It's still weird to show though.
I don't think they were blatantly defying any orders or anything, but it's still an odd choice. again, this isn't over and this isn't a retrospective, right? So I didn't understand this choice either. Quinn ends the show by outlining the ROH strict policies on COVID, which actually they are among the most strict of all the companies. Like, they're literally testing you and then locking you in a hotel where you can't go anywhere so that they know you're not picking it up anywhere. So they are among the most strict in North America, probably, on this issue. But I can't imagine anyone really cares about this information. So there's some production issues.
I mean, at least it's kind of nice to know that they're...
It is.
At least,
I respect them trying really hard, because
Yeah.
WWE didn't really care at all for a long time, right?
Yeah.
There are some production issues here, because it's Quinn talking and going through all this, but it's a video of Maria playing with no sound on. And then, honestly...
Wait, what?
I don't know if it's just on the station.
Maria Kanellis?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just on the station I watch. Literally, the beginning of Seinfeld starts as Quinn is still talking, and the show ends. And the beginning of... So I'm getting the video for Seinfeld starting, and I'm getting the audio of Ring of Honor ending. So I don't know if that happened everywhere or just here. Because it is an American channel that I watch it on up here, so I'm not sure.
I'm very confused.
So overall, this was a quick review because there wasn't that much new stuff. Not a show that's necessary to watch at all. Just people talking about Corona or no new or progressed storylines. 2 pretty good matches, but they're not current and they have no bearing on anything that's currently happening in ROH. So you don't really need to see them. Pretty much a waste of time. I gave it a C+ only because the wrestling was actually pretty good, but no need to go see it. You want to get in there before I go Impact?
Yeah, so...
Do it.
A pretty bad thing, but not too offensive. Rudolph won the SmackDown tag titles from Street Profits. So basically, non-team wins tag titles from team.
Right, from team that's been together forever.
Yep. Good team loses to bad team.
Imagine it's because they're sending the Street Profits back to NXT. Come on.
Do it.
Back when they were fun. Man, they were fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually, I didn't even like them at first.
I've never really liked Dawkins. I'm still not. I think he could be, no offense to him, I think he could easily be replaced with somebody else. But the chemistry between the two is really good. Right. And they're just entertaining, right? Especially
until they started being Raw hype men.
Especially with the NXT crowds. Once we get them back, we're going to see things, right?
Yeah, so, that was just part of, I think, what made their act so good. Is like, they had a crowd that were really into it. That's just what the NXT crowd was.
Honestly, the crowd helps a ton.
Before AEW, it just felt so special what NXT was.
Well, imagine like the Omega Phoenix match with an AEW crowd there. We're liking it even more, right?
Right. There was technically a crowd there, but like I know what you mean.
Like I was saying, the crowd for imagine there's a crowd for Cross's entrance, right? That's going to be huge. Yeah. I look forward to the days, man, because if we can...
I would love to see Cross's WrestleMania entrance. I could just imagine that being amazing.
If we can get through this era of really closely watching and reviewing empty arena and barely full arena wrestling, imagine how much fun we're going to have when it's back to full arenas.
It'll be definitely...
And we can be there for some of them.
Imagine we got to like... I bring
leave
like
the house and go to Toronto and do something.
Imagine we got to review like NXT TakeOver Toronto.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would have been fun.
We could do a retro of it because we were there.
We were there.
That
would be a fun bonus, actually.
We could do that sometime. So I will talk about Impact Wrestling from this week.
I got one more.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So we thought Goldberg was bad facing Drew McIntyre, right?
Well, you did for sure. I do agree.
Well, there was a gauntlet to face Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble.
Sure. Audible sigh.
Adam Pearce won.
Right.
Who is a backstage official.
But he used to be a wrestler.
But he's
pretty good
old.
Too.
He's
hey
old
man,
now.
You sound very ageist, all right? I praised an 8-year-old cutting a promo. So why can't you praise the people in my age bracket? We still have value.
You don't.
We can still contribute to society.
No. I honestly believe that you could probably wrestle a better match than Adam Pearce.
I entertain ones and ones of people every week on this podcast.
Yes. And so not only this, but Roman Reigns, I guess, was angry with Pearce for something earlier, some match he set up. So then he put him in this gauntlet because he has the authority to do that, apparently.
Yep.
And he and Uso came out to beat him up and Nakamura and then put him on Nakamura. Yes, he pinned Shinsuke Nakamura, who apparently had a good showing in this match, so good for him. But this is not good for him. Yes, Shinsuke Nakamura got pinned by Adam Pearce.
In 2021.
So let me just put this into perspective for everybody. In 2021, Goldberg,
I think he's upset
Bill
about it.
Goldberg, is challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship, and a non-wrestler, Adam Pearce, essentially like Shane McMahon, as if, challenging Roman Reigns for title in 2021. This is ridiculous. WWE, what the hell? Like, and that's why I don't watch main roster.
See? It's a nice reminder of like that. Oh yeah, this is why we don't watch this.
They literally have an old man and an old, semi-old
Ageist.
non-wrestler challenging for the titles.
You are ageist.
You're ageist.
Old people can do stuff too, all right?
Not good.
All right, so can I talk Impact
not
now?
in this case. Yes, please.
All right. So Impact Wrestling starts with like the previously on Impact, and they focus on the Good Brothers feud with the Motor City Machine Guns, and a lie with Kenny Omega, who gets involved after Carl Anderson's win, and that was the last live episode. The brothers and Kenny leave the Guns and Rich Swann lying to end that episode, leading
that was last week, right?
Right, leading to their 6-man tag match created at Hard to Kill. So we get an opening match. Here it's a 4-way match between Casey Navarro, Blake Christian, Ace Austin, and Crazy Steve.
I saw bits of this on Instagram.
I know that I've seen Blake Christian really recently wrestle somewhere, and I'm pretty sure that it was... Remember I told you I watched a week of the American New Japan show? I think he was on there, but I could be wrong. Anyways.
They have an American New Japan show?
Yes, and...
I didn't know.
Navarro's name I've heard before, but I don't think I've seen him before. He's a small, skinny little dude, and he's got some charisma though, right? He was kind of interesting. So, anyways, Crazy Steve wins a fast-paced match by pinning Navarro with a diving DDT from the ropes.
At least he didn't pin Ace Austin.
Yeah, no. This was a pretty good match, but suffered somewhat from no real build, right? It was just here and no real information.
I think it's just leading up to the tournament, though.
It is, but we get no information on the two new wrestlers, right? It felt like 4 guys thrown into a match for the sake of having a match.
It's like at least Ring of Honor, when they had the 2 new guys, they were like, they gave them all the promos.
Wow, it's funny you say that. So this was the introduction before the pay-per-view, and they made no real attempt to build them, so I assume they won't be very successful in this Super X Cup. And here's what I said. Why not give them a couple minutes to speak, similar to what ROH did before the entire Pure tournament, right?
Again, people, this is not rehearsed.
Give them 2 minutes, 90 seconds to tell their story, their background. It's so helpful. And when you actually allow them to talk about their actual experiences, even the people who are quote-unquote bad promos, I find, do better because it's stuff they know and that's not scripted for them. It's like, hey, tell us a little bit about your pathway to get here, right? And it's them being honest about something that really happened, so they do a much better job than some scripted thing that was made up. But there was nothing. It was just, here's these dudes, trust us, they're pretty good, and away we go.
2 people you know.
Right. So then we get Josh and Madison hype up Genesis and Hard to Kill. Genesis is on tonight, I think, and I might watch it, but the lineup is not strong.
I will not watch it tonight because we're probably watching a movie, but if you want to watch it tomorrow, I will consider
maybe.
it.
I got football galore to get through today and tomorrow.
You have better things to do.
So then we get a Sami Callihan video, and I think you were sort of lingering when I watched that a bit. He does the hacker thing and says everything in life has a purpose. Eddie Edwards' purpose is to show the world anything is possible if you work hard and play by the rules. But Sami is here for the reality check. We don't win in a fair world, and bad guys win in the end. He gives Eddie advice for tonight. Make sure Alicia isn't at ringside. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I actually like this promo quite a bit. It makes sense, right? Like, hey, Eddie, you're the example of, hey, if you try really hard, you can really succeed. And I'm the guy going, there's other people willing to take shortcuts and cheat and take you down, right? I thought his intensity was good. His delivery was good. My only complaint, I told you, is the cheesy hacker graphics as there's like static flickering across the screen.
I miss Sami Callihan being the sadistic, gross, just madman. Like when we were watching Impact, when we went there, he was amazing.
This seems a little bit closer to that. This was a little bit more intense than some of the stuff.
I just remember we talked about this on the pod already, but like him drooling, just like being this disgusting,
playing with his own spit and stuff,
right? Yeah. Just like this crazy, disgusting lunatic,
right?
And I think also it was like he actually legit hit a guy in the eye with a baseball bat, but like. That is like just made it cooler, but that's not something they could control.
Right.
I think it's also like, I don't know, just his character. I think OVE was just so cool. This madman leading a faction, you know? Just like, I don't know, just not even being biased because I was there, but just I think that was just when Sami Callihan was amazing.
Right. So I like the promo. I don't need the hacker, staticky, whatever stuff was too much.
I think you could probably do this same good promo without a dumb hacker thing.
Well, this was his gimmick on the indies, right? The hacker gimmick.
Yeah, and Solomon Crow in WWE.
Right. So then we get Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan, they've quote unquote bought more time on the show.
Didn't
Yeah, because I thought it was quite funny, so I actually went out of my way to show you this. And they're back wishing Happy New Year and talking about helping the less fortunate, saying Impact, right, during the holiday season. So that was a funny little shot there. The hype night one of New Year's Smash on Dynamite, Khan hypes up Phoenix and talks trash about how Callis has said he was partially responsible for the creation of AEW. So basically, Khan goes on a little rant here and says he does everything for AEW except wrestle. So he outlines all of the things.
Right, he financially backs them.
I have the money. I have the relationships with TV companies. I'm the booker, right? Like the only thing I don't do is wrestle. And he talks about, I like this as well, he's a patron who actually contributes and gives to the world of wrestling. And Callis is just a parasite and he only takes from wrestling. He's not adding anything. He says he'll buy another ad next week and come back on Impact. I like this too, because his grandmother gave him a card with $100 in it. So sort of implying that Impact Wrestling is so low budget that they basically, it would take $100 to buy 2 minutes of airtime on their show.
I'll buy an ad.
So I thought that was a funny line too.
Yeah, that was really funny.
I was quite amused by this, but I'm wondering what the result of this will be.
So Tony Khan's actually good at promos, like.
Well, I mean, in this, like being this kind of smug, we're better than you. It worked. I fear that it's going to lead to him wanting a bigger and bigger role, which I really don't think we need. But in this capacity, I really liked it.
I think if he's like the booker, I think he's probably smart. I think if he's running AEW, I don't think.
But sometimes their ego, right? They get a little taste, and they're like, look at all these people reviewing it and saying it's really good. Maybe I should do 4 minutes next week, and then that's how it happens.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping not. I'm hoping he's smarter than that.
I think he probably is. If he's in AEW.
My interest here, it's not even a concern because I'm just interested to see where it goes. What will the result of Impact consistently looking so second rate compared to AEW? Is AEW finally going to get its comeuppance, or are they just going to simply dominate the entire time that these two companies work together?
It's option 2.
And I don't really care, but I guess the point is they're making me interested in finding out because it's constantly just AEW ripping on Impact and saying it's just.
I think it's right. Oh, you almost did TNA, didn't you?
I did. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Then we get Omega, Callis, and the Good Brothers are in the trailer. They keep calling it a trailer. It's really an RV, but anyways.
Or like a bus.
Or a bus. Yeah, they call it a bus. It's not really. Celebrating with all their gold. Callis talks about the 6-man tag match at Hard to Kill.
The tag titles are silver. And
says they have to win. Kenny says it's a foregone conclusion. He says Swan and the Guns have no history and no chemistry. They're fueled by hate.
That's a good point.
They're fueled by hate and jealousy. They're a team, but Kenny and the brothers are a family. And I thought, yeah, this was a fine little promo. Nothing special. That is true.
They do have a lot of experience together, and
couple decent points, adding a little bit of build, so I'm okay with it. It should honestly be a really good match. So,
I'll probably watch it if you're watching it.
I will.
So.
Yeah. Cousin Jake is in the ring with Rhino, and he says it's been the hardest few weeks of his life, and that betrayal from family cuts deep. He pleads for Cody to fix this, then calls out Eric Young and Joe Doring. They come out, and Cody has a completely new look. You saw him, I think, briefly.
Yep.
With a shaved head and new tights, and I actually thought he looked really good. He's been overdue for a new gimmick. He's been doing this, like, redneck, whatever, kind of face version of a Briscoe brother for years and years and years and years and years. Jake wasn't good on the mic here at all, I didn't think, but anyways, it's fine. Eric Young tells Jake that Cody answers to him now because Eric Young showed Cody the truth. They're looking at the world and the design, and they head to the ring for their match. And that match is, in fact, Cousin Jake and Rhino versus Cody Deaner and Joe Doring.
Oh, I thought it'd be Eric Young.
So the finish comes with a low blow by Cody to Jake, basically for the win. I forget, he hit something right after it, but I am forgetting already. Anyways, the heels attack Jake afterwards, but Dreamer comes out with a kendo stick to make the save and chase away the heels. Dreamer speaks and says he knows about Oh yeah, I did rewind to show you the drool that flowed out of Dreamer's mouth at one point here. It was disgusting. Just accidentally, he just drools a whole bunch. He says that he knows about betrayal too, since EY did the same to him once. He calls them out for a 6-man tag match at Hard to Kill under old school rules.
Another 6-man tag? So like this, what? Just a 6-man
tag festival?
Tornado tag, no holds barred. Like that's what the old school rules.
I would guess, yes. I thought Cody Deaner was really good here, and the match was really just okay. I'm not even talking about Cody's wrestling, really, it looked fine too. But this complete shift in character, he seems committed to it. He's angry and aggressive, and he's constantly looking at Eric Young for guidance, which I really liked. Like, he'd hit moves and then look at Eric Young to see what he should do next, sort of thing, or for approval, which I really like. It's almost like this cult leader thing going on, right? So even during Eric Young's promo after the match, as he's standing on the ramp, instead of what would normally be like Diener would stand beside him and be looking down in the ring too, he's standing and staring directly at Eric Young, who's like a foot away from him, right? So I'm really interested to see where they go with this, Eric Young and his group. I've had zero interest in Cody Diener for years now, and suddenly I'm really into it and want to see what happens next. So that's just good work by them, I guess. I'm not super thrilled with an old school 6-man tag team match involving Tommy Dreamer, but I am interested in Eric Young's little faction. It was my first time really, I think, seeing Doring wrestle, and he was fine. He's a really big dude who hits a lot of power moves, right? So it was good. But I'm most interested in Cody Diener's sort of repackaging here.
Nice.
Yeah. Then we get Gia welcomes Matthew Palmer and asks about his 3-minute challenge with Moose. Remember, he's one of the guys, the indie wrestlers that was security and accidentally ripped Moose's shirt, and it's escalated to him now trying to last 3 minutes in the ring with Moose. Palmer says he didn't mean to rip Moose's shirt and drove 10 hours there to get his foot in the door at Impact Wrestling. The way he sees it, he has 2 choices. Cower and beat, which is wrong because it's technically 1 choice. It's one of my pet peeves. It's 2 options, 1 choice. It's 1 choice. You're choosing between 2 options. Anyways, cower and be ashamed, or get in the ring with Moose. Possibly get his butt kicked and hold his head up with pride. If he lasts the 3 minutes, the whole world will know who he is. I disagree.
Or like the 100 people who watch Impact.
So this was fine, but it was just a super generic underdog promo.
I'm gonna do it
for a guy I don't see sticking around, but we'll see. But
he
did bring one of my pet peeves to life. That is not 2 choices. That's 1 choice. 1 choice, people. 2 options, 1 choice. Johnny Swinger is in his office or in an office. I don't know if it's his. When detective, because he's wearing a Sherlock Holmes hat, so that's how you know he's a detective.
Yeah, automatic detective.
So AC Romero comes in. AC wants to get to the bottom of how Larry was set up. He says Steve told him that Swinger has information, and Swinger suggests he talks to the Knockouts. And he tells AC, just barge into the locker room. I do it all the time, because there's been a history of him doing that, especially with Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. He like approaches them in the locker room and tries to talk to them. It's kind of funny. Swinger's entertaining and does a good job in these small doses. I always say it. AC, not so much. I can't believe this story about the shooting is still going on. At least silver lining, it's been whittled down to 1 short segment, right? This is the only time on this whole show that it's involved, so we're getting less and less, so I'm getting happier. Then we get Deonna Purrazzo and Kimber Lee. They head to the ring. Deonna says that she doesn't know what Taya Valkyrie's problem is. Taya got angry after Deonna beat Rosemary, and then Deonna and Kimber cost Taya and Rosemary their tag team tournament spot. The question is, what happens when she hits her signature move and she lists her accomplishments then? The only question at Hard to Kill is whether Taya finally accepts reality. So then, of course, Taya comes...
Virtuosa.
Yeah. Taya comes out with Rosemary. Taya says Deonna is delusional, but she'll make it easy. She's the longest reigning Knockouts champion in Impact history, and Deonna has never faced her. So
I think it's clear that Deonna's better at promos.
She is. Well, actually, I don't mind Taya either, but I think Deonna's pretty good as well.
But I just I saw this a bit, and I just clearly noticed Deonna is much better.
I thought Deonna made
I saw this on Instagram.
A good point here, right? She points out Taya lost the belt to Jordynne Grace, and Purrazzo then beat Jordynne Grace to win that title.
Grace.
So why does Taya think she's, you know what I mean? The person that you lost to, I beat. So why do you think you deserve a spot here? She tells Taya that her husband and manager have left, and Rosemary will too, which I thought was a good line as well. Johnny's gone. Johnny and Johnny are gone. And she's implying that Rosemary's on the way out as well.
Johnny and John.
So at this point, more words happen, and I got tired of writing down what they were, and Kimber Lee gets shoved down by Taya. Taya will end Purrazzo's era and start her own. And I guess this was good, but I thought it was a little bit long. I like everybody involved, and Purrazzo Taya should honestly be really good, and if they booked it right, it could main event a pay-per-view for this company. In my opinion, these are 2 women at the top of their game and should be treated as such. But I doubt it will be. But I'll enjoy the match anyways. Then we get Rohit. He walks up to Chris Bay and says he's thinking of a New Year's resolution. He forgives Bay for wanting an X Division title shot at Hard to Kill. And I can't remember. There's something else I had there, but I'm missing it. Bay disagrees and says they aren't even. Oh, sorry. He says that they're even is what it was. Bay disagrees and says they aren't even until he's X Division champion again. Rohit suggests finding Manik, unmasking him so that he'll get removed from the match, right? Because TJP wasn't supposed to get a title shot, so that if they can prove that it is TJP, I think they figure he'll be stripped and removed from the match.
Right, because because that's just gonna make him magically. Oh, you can't.
Well, technically, they would say, listen, he wasn't allowed to wrestle. He was the one person not allowed, so that match didn't really happen. So Chris Bay agrees to this logic anyways, and they leave to go find Manik. I love both of these guys, so this was perfectly fine for me, although I think I'll mention it later. I'll just keep going for now. Rohit and Bay, then back from commercial, they find TJP reading a magazine backstage, and they ask him if he's seen Manik. TJP says that he hasn't seen Manik, but that he's likely around there somewhere. Rohit wants a tag match against TJP and Manik, with Bay as his partner, obviously. But TJP says that he and Manik don't get along. And I know I thought so too. And I am very critical of TJP in promos. I actually like this. And I thought he was good because he's playing the whole, I know that you know, but there's nothing you can do about it without proof thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so he was kind of doing that. I thought he did a really good job of that. My only complaint is that this isn't the role I would have for Chris Bay, obviously, because I think he's above this. But
maybe it's, again, the main event's pretty full, right?
And I say that every week. Yes, and if it just means he gets destroyed by AEW people at this point, then I don't want him there. I'd rather they wait and then push him later, I guess.
Just like a more opportune time.
Right. So then we get Tenille and Caleb with a K approach Rosemary and tell her that Taya is moving on to better things. So clearly this is them trying to sort of drive a wedge between them for whatever reason. And the reason is that Tenille then implies that she and Rosemary should form a team, and Rosemary says she's not interested. I found this pretty boring, and here's a comparison I was really proud of myself for making. Ready? I don't know if you'll agree because you don't watch it as much. Tenille Dashwood is Impact's version of Miro for me. I think she's talented. I was excited for her to come to a program that I watch from a program I don't watch, but she has done nothing so far that I've loved, right? And that's exactly how I feel about Miro. Like, yes, Miro's coming. And I was like, yeah, I like Dashwood. I think she's pretty cool. But they've not done anything since they've got there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the Knockout Tag Team semifinals, which is this not the longest tournament for the fewest entrants you've ever seen in your life?
I guess, yeah.
Honestly. Havoc and Nevaeh versus Jazz and Jordan Grace. Havoc and Nevaeh win after Havoc hits a tombstone piledriver to Jazz for the 3 count. This match was okay, but a little disappointing for me. There were some cool moves.
Another old wrestler vying for a title.
At one point, Havoc had a really nice piledriver, but there was also some sloppiness involved. If I'm nitpicking, the piledriver to win it, Jazz's head was nowhere near the mat.
That reminds me of Undertaker tombstoning Hulk Hogan at Survivor Series 91 in the general direction of a steel chair.
Yes, in the general direction of the mat.
That's a quote from Cultaholic.
Jazz doesn't have much variety in her offense anymore. It's a lot of punching and just basic stuff. And she once was awesome, don't get me wrong, but now she's slowed down clearly. And Nevaeh, who I usually think looked pretty good, I didn't love in this match. So maybe just an off night for her or me, I don't know. But it was okay. Then Rich Swann and the Motor City Machine Guns are talking to Gia backstage. Sabin cuts a pretty awkward promo, to be honest. This is the one thing these guys don't do very well. And he's talking about Omega and the Good Brothers here. Swann talks, and he's not going to let someone else come in here and say they run the place when he's the champion. They'll show Omega and the Good Brothers that pride is everything and pain is temporary. They decide to go find Omega and company now. They're just not going to wait. They're going to go confront them now. So fine, away they go. We're back from the break, and Swann and the Machine Guns are at the bus, and they start to bang on the door. And then, of course,
I think I saw this on Instagram.
Somewhere. They're outsmarted as the heel Omega and Good Brothers attack them from behind. Omega has his shirt off and chokes Sabin with it. Kenny says that these baby faces were, quote, easy to kill. Get it? Ha ha. Leading into the hard to kill pay-per-view. In general, man, do these Impact guys look pathetic, right? Tony Khan rips them multiple times in a segment, and now, like, arguably your top trio in the company just got decimated in seconds by a group.
Tony Khan was funny,
right?
though.
So I'm not saying it's even bad, right? I'm interested to see where it goes.
Just a note.
If only to see what the payoff is. Is it Impact going to look like a second-rate company after this is done as well?
Better.
So who knows? I just don't see how Impact could possibly get even at this point, right? Like, what are they going to do to sort of get the spotlight away from AEW? But maybe they don't have to. Since AEW is involved and Callis, to be honest, I have some faith that they're going somewhere that might interest me, right? I don't really care. If you want to book AEW as several rungs above you in terms of quality and whatever, and you're okay with that as Impact Wrestling, you're just like, maybe we'll get some viewers, then I'm fine with it too. I don't see, I guess that's just, I'm trained by WWE even Steven booking, right? I'm always trying to see, like, I don't think Impact can get the win back here, as they say. But anyways, we'll see.
WWE's ruined you.
They have. Jordynne Grace apologizes to Jazz backstage, and then they agree to have one final match for Jazz against each other at Genesis. And it's not like there's any animosity. It was just like, I screwed up that match, so why don't we sort of have one last match so you can go out on a high note sort of thing. So I'm not thrilled for that match. I love Jordynne Grace, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure a Jazz in a singles match in 2021 is what I need to see. But prove me wrong, Jazz.
Again,
I'd love you
more
to.
old wrestlers that shouldn't be
Ageist.
No.
Perazo and Kimberly ask Father James Mitchell if his transformation of Su Yung is done. He says Su Yung is not Sue, but she's not quite Susie either. And then Su Yung comes out in a suit and glasses
Susan.
And says she's Susan. And that's the end of that, basically.
Like the formal version of Susie.
So I'm intrigued, man. A third persona. I said, why not? She's done a great job with the first.
She's the female Mick Foley.
She's done a really good job with the first two, in my opinion. So I have no reason to believe she won't do a good job with the third one.
Would you say, like, I guess, like, Su Young's kind of like the Mankind?
I guess.
And then
there are some similarities for sure.
Cactus Jack is also kind of Su Young, I guess, and then Dude Love.
Oh, I see. So
Susie's
specifically,
Dude
which
Love.
one's which one?
I don't think
Susie would be Dude Love, right?
Susie's Dude Love. I think
Su
Cactus
Yung.
Jack and Mankind are kind of both kind of Su Young, and then Susan's just like a totally different thing from Mick Foley, I would say.
So it's almost more like what is the one right now? Susan?
Yeah.
Susan's almost like Abyss's alter ego, which I guess you never saw, but it's more
no,
like...
I know what you're talking about, though.
Oh my God, he was a
Joseph
lawyer.
Parks?
Joseph Park. And I think I've said it before here, Abyss did an amazing... As a guy who, like, barely talked and only cut, like, I'm a monster promos, like, kind of like Mankindish ones,
or like
suddenly is, like, flawlessly playing a lawyer character. Like, amazing job he did. Anyways. Eddie Edwards is shown backstage with Alicia getting ready for the match, and I guess that's on purpose that we see Alicia is with him and free, to give you a little hint as to what's happening later. Then we have the 3-minute challenge where Moose just destroys Matthew Palmer.
This was like at a pay-per-view or something.
So he destroys Palmer, and he's toying with him. He could have put him away at any point, but he's not. And then Willie Mack comes out with a little bit of time left in the 3 minutes and obviously distracts Moose, and Palmer survives the 3 minutes because of that. It was fine because it furthers the storyline with Willie Mack and Moose.
Are they facing at Genesis or Hard to Kill?
I'll tell you because I've got the lineup for Genesis coming up.
Okay.
But I just feel like this feud, we've had this a lot lately, right? Willie Mack and Moose have had a few matches already.
Distraction. Ooh, feud.
So it's continuing, and I like both of them, so it's fine. This is where things get a bit weird for me. Ethan Page is backstage on a couch saying everything is unraveling since he lost the tag titles. Then we get Karate Man's voice only at first, so he's kind of giving advice and whatnot and saying whatever wise things. And Page says he's believed he's been derailed. Karate Man then tells him that there's a new path and to trust. And then we sort of pull back, and Karate Man is actually sitting in the chair beside the couch. So now... this is where I'll get into. I have some issues with this. Karate Man eventually berates Page and calls him names, and they make. Were
they on the screen at the same time?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Okay, I was gonna say because like there was the one segment a while ago with the 3 faces of Foley at the same time.
Yes.
So I was gonna say if they can't pull that off with modern technology, then that's
they did.
Okay.
So he's there, and they make a Kumite match, which I think is like going to be a no holds barred match for Hard to Kill. So,
Good luck, Impact.
Right? How are they going to pull that off? But anyways, so...
I actually want to see that, because if it's bad, I'm going to laugh.
I love Ethan Page. He does a great job of delivering what he's given to deliver, but I'm not a fan of this. I'm like, this is getting awkward for me. Am I to be amused and laugh at this possibly mentally ill person, right? Is that where they're going? I find the whole thing strange right now. Before... he was dressing up as one or the other. So now it's a serious mental health issue, and he believes both truly exist, and they have conversations and are competing for control of him, maybe. So I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this.
Both you mean just like Karate Man, then
and
just straight up Ethan Page?
Yeah. So
okay.
now it's gone into full-blown mental illness being played off as entertainment and amusing, and I'm a little bit concerned about that. There was a Jim Carrey movie years ago that I can't remember the name of it, that Me, Myself, and Irene, that kind of did the same thing and made me feel uncomfortable. They're playing off mental illness as humor. I don't know if that's what they're doing here, but it felt like it's at least adjacent to that. So I'm a little bit uncomfortable, even though I love Ethan Page. I guess we'll see where it goes. They're booking a match between him and himself. So anyways. So you were wondering about Genesis because they run down the lineup now. They have since updated it with the specific matches, but it doesn't really matter. It's the Super X Cup tournament. So basically round 1 matches and so on are all happening. And then the only other 2 matches on the card are Jazz Jordan Grace and Moose Willie Mack I Quit.
No title matches.
As far as I know, that is everything I saw today.
Brutal.
So the only update I saw today was that they laid out the actual order of the Super X Cup matches, which, I mean, half of the guys I don't know anyways, so it wasn't something I made a note of.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, but anyways, sometimes that, then if you go in with no expectations, sometimes
Tournament
they'll over-deliver.
Might be good, but
yeah.
then again.
But again, with no build or discussion of who these characters are, we'll see. So the main event is Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards, who they are so ridiculously similar in their size, their style even, like they're almost 2 sides of the same coin, as they say. Anyways, they brawl outside for a long time and use chairs and a wrench before the match even starts. Sami bleeds from the corner of his right eye. They finally get in the ring, and there's a double DQ after just a few minutes. So the whole point of this was the brawling before was like 10 times longer than the match. Eddie stalks Sami with the bat. Sami uses his phone to play footage of Alicia locked in a cage somewhere. So he uses his phone, takes control of the Tron. It's video of Alicia being trapped. So Eddie stops the bat attack that's about to happen, obviously. Oh, no, sorry. He hits Sami in the head with the bat first, then runs to go and find Alicia. He does find her. She's just locked in sort of a cage backstage somewhere, but as he finds her, of course, he's attacked by Ken Shamrock, and then eventually Sami runs in and joins the attack as well. They wrap Eddie in a barbed wire and hit him, and I did make a note of this, with the end of the bat first with his hand over top, like Triple H sledgehammer style, to be a little safer, because Eddie took a vicious bat shot to the head years ago. So this one they made sure was safe. This is really just some generic hardcore stuff before the match, other than there was one spot where
they're facing off a hard to kill, I guess then.
So Edwards did take a pretty crazy suplex to a chair that was like open and set up on the outside that looked really painful. For me, it's just these guys have interacted so much in the not too distant past that this feels really stale to me. The visual of Edwards being destroyed and his wife unable to do anything despite being an inch away was cool, because basically she's behind this like chain link fence enclosure locked in it, and they basically beat Eddie Edwards right up against the chain link fence, so there's really nothing she can do about it, even though she's literally like an inch behind him. She's totally helpless, which I thought was pretty cool. So it's basically just more of this, hey, Sami's a psycho and targets Eddie for no real reason, and Eddie can't take it anymore. And it's like just a reset of what they did before.
Yeah, but I thought it worked better earlier, because like before that feud, Eddie was like that clean cut wrestler, right?
Yes.
And then now it's like he's
they're so similar now.
Right, and like he already went through the psycho phase, and like where he was like deranged and whatever, and he still looks like, cause like you remember like he started wearing jeans and the beard, and he had Kenny the kendo stick.
Right.
And he still looks like that, like he still has the beard, the weird hair, the jeans. But then now he's back to his babyface, normal person character. So
they're just like, merging into one person, I think, eventually.
Right. It's like he has the look of the deranged Eddie, but like his character's back to good old Eddie Edwards.
Yep. Overall, this show was mixed for me. I really enjoyed the first half. Then it's sort of the middle section. I was okay with it, and then it kind of dropped off near the end. Cody Deaner and Su Yung debuting new characters was cool and interesting to me, and I will come back to see that. The Tony Khan segment was funny, like I said before. The wrestling was good enough, but not great. And again, the Who Shot Johnny Bravo, it was a very brief one time only on this show, so that helps as well. I'll give it a B, but closer to a B- than a B+ this week.
Nice. And to recap what I covered, main roster sucks.
Yeah, that's basically the gist of it. All right, so that takes us to our final segment every week, which is where Jack takes a few minutes to talk about the world of wrestling action figures in Figuring It Out with Jack.
Whew, boy, do we have an uneventful thing here.
That's okay. They can only release so much stuff, you know?
So Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows are getting their own Ultimate figures from Super 7. These are available on Super 7's website and also Ringside Collectibles. These include interchangeable heads and hands and follow the same style as the major podcast Ultimates of Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, and then also the New Japan figures, which are coming out, I think, in a bit. Those have been, like, delayed a lot, because they've been, like, on pre-order for over a year now, I think. So,
right.
But yeah. And then my other one is my ringside order, which was scheduled to come late February, has now been pushed to mid-March because their lack of supply of Walter.
Volta!
Yes, Walter has been pushed to...
It's holding you back.
Mid-March, yeah.
Thanks, Walter.
Walter's on back order till
We
mid-March.
still love you, Walter. It's okay. It's not your fault. You're still cool.
Yeah.
Super cool.
That's it.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 25. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your week to hang out with us. Feel free to contact us, fnswrestling@gmail.com, FNS_wrestling_podcast on Instagram. Yeah. We'd love to hear from any of you. Praise, criticisms, comments, questions, concerns, anything at all. Feel free to contact us. And we thank you for your time, and we will see you back here next week. Take care, everybody.
Peace.